can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me. And I can't hold it much longer. Gonna let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This could be it. This could be the end of the season.
Could be. It very well could be.
You thought about that?
No,
we talk all year, and this is it. November 1st, Wednesday, FT Live, Braun, Frazier, AJ, Kratz, and the Texas Rangers are 1 win away from their first World Series title in franchise history. But before all of that, how was everyone's Halloween? Did you guys have fun? Did you guys end up dressing up, Kratz or AJ? I know Todd Father did. We're going to show his works in a sec. AJ, your kids don't make you dress up? They're too old?
No, dude, my kids are old.
Yeah. I mean,
My
they're
kids,
not that old.
my
They're in
kids,
high school.
my kids went through the phase already where they dressed up, then they thought it was uncool, and then they dressed up again.
All right, well, Travis Kelce in the house. Look at Adam Jones. Holy, I love that.
That was good.
Who the hell is that guy? Ronald McDonald?
That was me, baby.
Did you work the drive-thru at McDonald's?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That-
Fraze, how many Halloween dresses did you have?
There's
Two, baby. Hey, we get into it over here, bro. We're not scared over here. We get after it.
And Jason Kipnis was on the World Series postgame show with us, but before that, he played. What's the
King
park name?
Triton.
King Triton
Right. Bro,
for
this
his
is
niece.
the holidays, man. Have some fun with it. This is what it's.
I wore a super bright orange sweatshirt and got comments on the plane that I was on. They were like, "Oh, Halloween sweatshirt." I was like, "Yeah, sure."
The two big guys, they could be such good costumes and people or characters, like, because your size, like, it would be unbelievable. Like, I can, Kratzy and AJ, you'd look good in a lot of different costumes.
Kratz, you could have been like Thor, like Syndergaard or something.
I would like to have been Mr. Clean.
Oh,
Yes,
solid.
yes. AJ, have you ever had a good costume?
Yeah, I used to dress up with my kids when they were younger, but now they're too cool to hang out with dad dressed up. So now I just don't worry about it.
Not cool.
Now I'm the
hang out
driver.
with you, AJ.
I'm the driver now. I drive them.
You could drive
Yeah.
me too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that fun. I guess you could dress up as a chauffeur. But anyway, let's get to World Series biz. Let's charge the damn mound, shall we? And AJ, I think you should kick this off because we spoke about this game right after it happened for about 30 minutes, and we talked about this guy, but probably not enough. So, who was the unsung hero of Game 4 for the Rangers?
Heaney giving them 5 innings. It sets them up yesterday. Now it helped they were winning 10-0, but Heaney giving them 5 innings, and then Heaney set them up for today in case of all defaulters. And Bruce Bochy has all his A relievers to go to today. I still don't know why he brought Leclerc in with a 6-run lead. Even Will Smith, I don't know if you guys saw the video of him going like, "What the fuck are you doing? Leave me in." But 6-run lead, veteran reliever. Figured he could get one more out, but Bochy didn't think so. So for me, it's Heaney. There's no doubt it's Andrew Heaney, what he did, how he was able to give them 5 innings, and get them through some spots and save the guys for Game 5 and possibly going farther if it gets past Game 5.
That's a good call.
Yeah. No, because listen, and you see it from the other way. Like the Diamondbacks, they didn't waste any time of getting guys in and out of there, and it hasn't been seen where a guy comes in and throws that many innings. John Gray came in. I think he threw 3 innings the other day, and then you got this guy stepping up. I think that's a great call by AJ because that saves the pitchers. That saves the bullpen, I should say, not the pitchers, the bullpen. And now you got all your horses going into Game 5 here too as well. So it's looking pretty good for the Rangers. Crazy things have happened. They're missing 2 guys, so we'll see.
Rarely can a team in a situation like this lean. I mean, baseball, it's a team sport. But the Diamondbacks season right now hinges on Zach Gallen. What Zach Gallen does after what happened last night, the overhit on what we thought was going to be the amount of pitchers used, I think it was 13. And when you use that many pitchers, both sides, I get it. The Diamondbacks didn't use their top 3 guys, and the Rangers kind of used Leclerc. I mean, they used him, but not excessively. Tonight, it's all about how Zach Gallen picks up what the bullpen couldn't do last night at all.
And then what about the injuries? So no more Scherzer for this round. We saw Brock Burke appear and eat up some innings. Obviously, had some trouble there. Whatever. They won the game. And then Ezekiel Duran replaces Adolis Garcia, who actually had a little speech for the team, apparently, that they liked. And, he was pissed that he doesn't get to kind of finish this ride with them, but said, finish it for us. Oh, Travis Jankowski, by the way, was a nice little game for Texas. Couple knocks. I mean, he's going to handle things out there. He doesn't have the Adolis arm, but he's fast as shit and actually can be a pain in the ass on the bases, too.
Yes.
Listen, he
floats.
Go ahead. You got it. Oh, can we go back to that second inning, how big that was? They got
his knock up the middle?
No, not even that. I want to go to Leotis Tavares. Like the single that all right, the wild pitch, they got the one run. But if we're looking for another guy that, kind of kick-started that inning in the middle of the inning, that was a huge walk. And then Travis comes up with the big single. I mean, those are two monster bats there from the bottom of the lineup, and then Simeon triple, then at homer. I mean, 5-0. That was game over right there. So I think that was the biggest play of the game. All right, nice. You get the wild pitch, momentum swings your way, but man, you get up to that top of the order, and all of a sudden Marcus Simeon takes off and starting to dominate like we know he can. Two guys right there, unsung heroes, especially in that game 4.
Yeah, and then Seager. Why are we pitching to Corey? That was my big theme last night. Someone else has to beat me from Arizona.
And it doesn't matter if it's a lefty or righty pitching.
No, they actually said something. Did you guys hear that when he hit the homer and then he went back into the dugout and they picked someone up saying something about a lefty? They were like, "Oh, they gave you a lefty" or something like that. They're like, "The lefty." Did you guys hear that? The mic picked it up in the dugout on Fox.
I didn't hear it.
It was great. They're like, "Oh, cool. They think they can get you with a lefty." It was like what you mentioned, Kratz. Same thing with Yordan Alvarez. Oh, okay. Let's bring in the same, middle lefty reliever to try and get Yordan Alvarez. How's that been working out?
Not well. And when he hit that, I was like, "Oh, that's in the gap." And then it was like, "Oh, it's got to get up." Oh my! It almost hit that like second level that they have up there in Arizona, there in deep center. I mean, it was crunched, and I just don't understand. Yeah, I've said this till I'm blue in the face. I don't understand how you can keep just bringing in guys that are not good matchups. Don't bring those guys in. They set it up for you with how they set their lineup. If you think Carter is going to be the guy that you're going to get out in that situation because he's got one hit against lefties, fine, but you cannot let Seager beat you. But hey, you know what? On to the next MVP trophy for him.
True.
Also, I'm wondering how much we should be talking about home field advantage in the playoffs these days, because it hasn't been a factor in our game, it feels like, for a while. And even when it felt like it was going to be a big factor, we talked up Philly a lot. They end up losing 2 games at home to Arizona to lose that series. So here's your updated math, AJ. Road teams in the playoffs are 25-15. And actually, if you take out the Rangers, it's 500 because the Rangers are freaking 10-0 on the road. But still, 25-15 on the road? I kind of feel like maybe I want to play on the road. Maybe there's less distractions. I don't know. I mean, that's massive.
Usually there is less distractions on the road, especially in the playoffs, because you get less ticket requests, you get less things. And the traveling secretary, the team director of team travel, whatever they're called now, they usually take care of the families. They do all the plane flights and they do all the hotels. And it's much easier when you're at home. You got people calling you, "Hey, can I get tickets? Can I get tickets?" You're like, "Hey, look, you didn't ask me a month ago. No chance." So I think home field advantage in baseball is probably the most overrated thing there is. I mean, ask the Houston Astros, who were under 500 and still won the division. But it is not as big of a deal as home ice in hockey, home field in football, home court in basketball. It doesn't get swayed as much because every team still has the advantage. And people say, "Oh, you get to bat last." But if you're losing by 10-2 in the 9th inning, does it matter if you hit first or last? I mean, that doesn't really matter. So for me, it's always kind of been like that. I think it got blown out of proportion a little bit, but home field doesn't mean a whole lot in baseball.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, also, what I think is being kind of overplayed in general in the playoffs these days. So I was listening to Eno Sars. He's been on our show before, right? Have you read some of his work? Eno's really good analytically, writer, but also really good on pitching mechanics. He has the Stuff Plus metric that he uses a lot for pitcher stuff. So he said that there's been research on relievers over the last few years, and a few things stood out to me. One, he said relievers get worse throughout a season. Like the more they're used throughout a year in the regular season, the worse they're going to be in terms of the effectiveness of their stuff. That makes sense. It is definitely also proven in numbers that they are worse on back-to-backs and then back-to-back-to-backs. And the one that stood out to me the most is, he said, this is fresh. This is Sabre research, that a reliever will get worse as the series continues, which we talk about a lot on this show. Obviously, you get to see a guy over and over again, but they actually said that it is worse to have a reliever continue to get seen by the same hitters than the advantage for a hitter on a pitcher the third time through. So if I'm looking at, does that make sense? So
Yeah.
When people are like, oh, third time through, can't have our starter in. Yeah, I mean, your starter might not be that good. We have a lack of great quality starters in the bigs in general. You know what's worse? If you keep throwing the same damn relievers out for, 5 out of 7 games in the series, guys like you are going to eventually figure it out.
Well, it's consistencies. It's what they've been throwing you. So it's like, these two guys on the screen here, they keep throwing me fastball in, slider, light away with 2 strikes. Well, eventually I'm going to catch up to that. And, and if I'm not hitting in the beginning, but that third or fourth time I see it, all right, well, I might guess on a pitch here and I'm not going to miss this one. So it's like, as you get wiser and the more you see somebody as a hitter and you're a professional hitter, you're going to catch up to that. I don't care if you're the best pitcher in the league. And, the overpowering stuff's not going to be that overpowering.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how you can combat that, AJ, but it sounds like something that should be worked on by teams to be able to build their playoff rosters. I know what you're going to say.
What am I going to say?
The show starters how to go deeper into games?
Yes, develop better starting pitching. Then you don't have to use the relievers as much. Man, it's weird, Scott, how that works. But, I'm just the old guy, get off my lawn. I don't mind the opener every once in a while. I don't mind certain things, but develop better starting pitching. And then we don't have a Game 4 matchup, Joe Mantiply versus Andrew Heaney. Heaney pitched great, but, you miss the bullpen days if you can develop enough starting pitching. And the one thing we thought about the Rangers, they had enough starters. And guess what? Good thing they have Andrew Heaney. Good thing they have Dane Dunning. Good thing they have Martin Perez on these rosters because they've had a plethora of injuries. DeGrom, Scherzer, whoever it is, these guys have all gone down at one time or another. So good for the Texas Rangers for continuing to stockpile starting pitchers, bringing in Eovaldi before the year, bringing in Montgomery in the middle of the year, bringing in Scherzer in the middle of the year, bringing in DeGrom to start the year. I mean, these are all starting pitchers that have done stuff for them and help them get to this point. And no one, if you would have said going into Game 4, Andrew Heaney give you 5 innings, people would have said, oh, man, they're in trouble. Well, guess what? They're up 3-1, and they're probably going to win it tonight and go home celebrating a World Series trophy.
Well, let's see what Ken Rosenthal thinks when we come back on FT. And first off, your poll question. Predict the biggest reason the Diamondbacks force a Game 6. A stellar Zach Gallen. B, the Diamondbacks steal bases. C, the Diamondbacks play with a lead, that early lead. And D, the Rangers pitching crumbles. Those are your options. Watchstadium.com/foul territory are the QR code on your screen if you want a little shortcut on that front for the poll question. And we'll come back and we will talk to the man of the minute, Ken Rosenthal, coming off a big Halloween game coverage on Fox. We'll talk to him about Game 5.
Why are we going off of like, oh, you behaved, you didn't get like into an argument with a player? Like, what does that have to do with your performance calling balls and strikes? Like, to make everyone has a medal. I get what they're saying. I just don't agree with it. That's my thing. And I'm sure, Kratz, you feel the same way, no?
Oh, I feel like we are in a league that you talk about it being public. Everybody knows what Adolis Garcia is hitting, but you also know what kind of slump Longoria was in. You also know what kind of slump Marcus Semien was in. And it's a league of the best, and that's what we've created in the playoffs here. To me, I feel like they should be held to a standard of being the best of the best, and I know for a fact a lot of these umpires, it will raise their level of play, level of calling, whatever you want to call
it. AJ, Erik, it's something that probably we should look into as journalists, my end of it, for another day, on another day. I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying, and I don't know that there is a perfect system. I would grant that to MLB and the umpires, but when you have a situation like happened last night, that is not healthy. That's a talking point today that should not be a talking point. We should be talking about Scherzer and Garcia. We should be talking about the brilliance of the Rangers bullpen last night. We should be talking about Corey Seager and what he did again on a first pitch. All of these topics are more baseball prominent than umpires, or should be, but they aren't. And this is a big topic today, which I understand, and it should be. But that is what baseball has to deal with. They need to say, hey, do we really want this? After a World Series game, do we really want the discussion the next day to be about a missed call or several missed calls in a World Series game? I don't think they should want that, and they don't want that, but they need to address it.
And now back to foul territory.
We're not talking about that.
Here we go. FT Live on Stadium. Big crew today. Braun, Frazier, Pierzynski, Kratz, and Ken Rosenthal back at it with us. Ken, first off, just in general, your thoughts on that Game 4. Were you surprised how much of a blowout it was early on and how much damage the Rangers were able to do against the Arizona bullpen, all with 2 outs, too?
Of course I was surprised. No one expected it to be 10-0 after 3 innings, and that's what it was, Scott. So, yeah, I thought it would be a closer game. Basically, I thought it would be like a 9-8 game, which is sort of what it became in the end, 11-7. But it did surprise me to see Arizona's pitching staff just have no ability to hold down the Rangers. And it was impressive to see the Rangers do what they did on the day they lost Adolis Garcia and also Max Scherzer. They came out and played a fantastic game.
I will say, we got to give Ken credit here, AJ. You heard it. Ken said, I expect a high-scoring game. How'd that go?
That's why we all took the over.
That was helpful. Ken nailed it on that front. Okay, so let's project it forward. Game 5, we've got the starters flipping back with Eovaldi going up against Zach Gallen. I know these guys have their own questions. The main theme that I keep bringing up is the best hitter, and especially the best clutch hitter right now in the sport. I guess you could make a case for Yordan Alvarez, but besides him, Corey Seager. I mean, the dude is incredible in October. He's done this in a prior World Series as well. Why are they pitching to him? Why are they throwing pitches over the zone to also a guy who will swing out of the zone? And even if he does do that and make contact, your quality of contact is probably not going to be as likely to be a home run.
Scott, this is baffling to me as well. I wrote about it. I don't remember which game, but it was one of the games in which he crushed a first pitch fastball. And it was actually Game 1 when Sewald gave up the home run, the game tying home run. I said, why are they throwing him first pitch fastballs? And I know Sewald has a fastball and one other pitch, and that's it. I get it. But why go in the zone? And that's my question. I would try to get the chase, even if it means falling behind 1-0. And I know, obviously, pitchers aren't perfect. They'll miss while trying to go maybe up and away or whatever. But it's baffling to me that that's the position that pitchers put themselves in because he does so often swing at the first pitch. I ran some numbers. He has the most or the highest rate of first pitch swings since coming into the league, something like that. And that's how he rolls. It seems to be working for him. If I were a pitcher, I wouldn't be going anywhere near the zone.
I talked about earlier in the playoffs. I said one of the bigger keys is going to be the bottom of the lineup on all these teams. You know, everybody has their 1 to 3 starting pitchers that are really good. They have their top guys that can hit, but the bottom of the lineup's going to have to come through. When I think of Texas, I think of Josh Young. I think of Evan Carter, who was down there. Now he's up. Now you got a guy like Travis Jankowski who's got to step up for Garcia, you know, being hurt. So for him coming up big there yesterday was unbelievable. Talk to us about that bottom of the lineup and, you know, how surprising it's been.
Well, they have a very deep lineup 1 to 9, especially when Garcia is healthy. It's one of their trademarks, their hallmarks. They are very deep offensively. They can do a lot of different things with a lot of different players. Leody Taveras is the guy who bats 9th for the most part, and he is an interesting offensive player. He can do some things. He's drawn some big walks in this series. He can hit the ball out of the park, and he's hitting 9th. So Jankowski yesterday, obviously replacing Garcia, he's not going to be able to do that. He's got 10 home runs in his career and about 1,500 at-bats. Garcia had 8 home runs in the postseason before getting hurt. But Jankowski is the kind of player that I know you guys like. He can do a lot of different things. Offensively, defensively, base running. He is a dynamic guy who can really help a team win in any number of ways. And yesterday you saw his first 2 at-bats, 2 out hits, and 1 drove in 2 runs. So good for him. He's had a long journey. He's been kind of a journeyman in his career, but he has been well-liked and respected wherever he's been, and that's the case in Texas as well. And that speaks to their whole team. They have this next man up mentality that I said this on the air last night. I know it can be a cliche, but with them it's a reality. And that's the way they've been all year long. Remember, they lost DeGrom. They lost Seager twice. They lost Heim and Young and a number of players all season, one after another, different injuries taking place, and yet they always seem to have answers. And that's why they're 1 win away from being World Series champions.
Let's talk about smart money. All right. Let's talk about the fact that they signed Seager and Semien maybe a year too early before they actually thought they could win these games. They're quiet. You wrote in an awesome article about talking about how they impact things. Obviously, you wrote out their numbers and you said how they're quiet leaders, how there's so many that they lead by example on and off the field. Who are the leaders in that clubhouse? Because so many teams want to talk about that. That's the first thing the high money teams talk about. Mets didn't make it. Oh, there must be something wrong in the clubhouse. Padres didn't make it. Something wrong in the clubhouse. Do they have leaders that are the vocal leaders if these 2 guys are the quiet ones?
I don't know that they have a vocal leader. They have these 2 guys who are stoic and lead by example types. Now, obviously they can pull a player aside, and I'm sure they both do that from time to time, but they are definitely in the lead by example category. Garcia is not necessarily a leader, Eric, but he is like a glue guy in that room. He gets along with everyone. He has and brings a lot of positive energy that the players all talk about. He is beloved in that clubhouse. And then you have other guys like Garver and Heim who are just solid professional players, and there's leadership in that as well. So I don't know that they have the guy. They've got a manager who's a great leader in his own right with his calm demeanor and the way he just handles a game and sees everything and just keeps things under control. So it's not necessarily one guy the way I see it, but those 2 guys, the most interesting quote I thought in the article was from Travis Jankowski, who said, "They make our rookies better. I wish when I was a young player, I had that kind of example to follow. It's like, watch us, watch the drive that we bring every day, watch how we go about our business." And that's the way Marcus Semien and Corey Seager are. Marcus Semien never misses a game, right? He has missed, I think, 4 games the last 5 years, something like that, not counting the shortened season. And Corey Seager, not as durable, obviously, but he is a guy who, when he is healthy, certainly plays every day. You saw last night, he looked uncomfortable on the home run swing. I don't know what it was, but he stayed in the game. And he's just a guy that, in these moments, seems to shine. Now, I know some of his postseasons with the Dodgers weren't as good as this one. I get it. Nobody's great every single year in the postseason. So Dodger fans need to cool it a little bit with that. But my goodness, he was amazing in the 2020 playoffs, NLCS MVP, World Series MVP. He's been amazing in these playoffs as well.
Yeah, but Ken, that was in a bubble. 2020 was in a bubble. It doesn't count, right? That's what people say.
Yeah, right. Some could argue, AJ, that was even a more difficult circumstance. I know it was the shortened season, and the Dodgers will never get past that until they win one in a full season. But there were challenges that season that obviously were unique in the game's history.
Okay, so Ken, I know we're talking heavy Rangers because they're 1 win away, but how do the Diamondbacks get back into this series? Besides Zach Gallen going out and throwing a gem, what else do the Diamondbacks need to happen in order to make this go back to Texas and maybe get it to a 6 and a 7?
AJ, they're an interesting team, right? We saw them fall behind the Phillies 2-0 and 3-2 going back to Philly. Last night they're down 10-0. They make it 11-7. They have this quality about them where they don't seem to certainly quit or die or whatever word you want to use, which is good. Gallen, it starts with him, obviously. It always starts with the starting pitcher. The one thing I've noticed watching this team play, and I hadn't done it in person much until this World Series, they lack that middle of the order thumper, the guy that you're really afraid of. The middle of the order for them it's Walker, it's Pham, it's that kind of player, which is a good player. Christian Walker and Tommy Pham are really good players, but they're not exactly what you want in that spot. They're not Corey Seager. So they've got to get back into it with starting pitching, number one. And they have to produce some timely hits. And last night, late innings, they kind of got going. So I don't rule them out. I don't rule out this going back to Texas. And if you get it back to Texas, it's the same logic that applied when they went back to Philly. See what happens.
So do you wear a different suit tonight with the chance that there could be some champagne on it, or do you have a rain jacket that you're going to put on?
There's no rain jacket, Eric, and this is an issue. Certainly when you go into a post-game clubhouse after a playoff victory, any playoff victory really, you risk the possibility of getting champagne on your suit. Champagne's not that big a deal. It can be dry cleaned. Gatorade, colored Gatorade is a bigger deal. And then years ago, the Nationals had a chocolate celebration. And I actually have a photograph of myself interviewing Bryce Harper. Max Scherzer pouring chocolate on Bryce's head. And that chocolate got on my suit, and that ruined the suit. So I'm not so worried about tonight, but yeah, there's going to be some action if it happens.
Right, if it happens. Do you think that from the bullpens, teams will look in the offseason at what Texas had and say, hey, maybe their bullpen was not great during the regular season, but they got into the playoffs, and because they have starters that they were able to utilize in those spots, it helped obviously pick up the pace. And here's the key that we were talking about in the last segment. You're looking at those guys for a few innings versus an inning of the Arizona Diamondbacks relievers that we saw yesterday that they've already seen a couple times in the series that they'll probably see again. I mean, the main point I brought up, who's a colleague of yours, is Cyrus mentioned some research that it is actually more of a disadvantage if you're in a long series in the playoffs and your relievers continue to get looked at versus the third time through for a starter. So I took that a step further as, hey, if I've got more starters that are like back-end starters, but they've got stuff, or even a number 3 starter who's just coming back from an injury like John Gray, I throw him in there for a few innings. They're only getting one look at him then maybe again in game 7. Just feel like it's not the same script over and over again if you're in control. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's a good point, Scott. And Eno makes a great point as well. I hadn't considered that the third time through is less of a risk than seeing these relievers over and over again. It makes sense if you think about it. The Rangers are a little bit unique in that they loaded up on starting pitching. Remember, they signed DeGrom for starters. They also signed Heaney and Nathan Eovaldi. Then when DeGrom got hurt, they traded for Jordan Montgomery and Scherzer. They are in a good position. They already had John Gray. So when it came to this situation, even without DeGrom, once Eovaldi got healthy, they had a surplus. And they could put Heaney in the bullpen. They could put Dunning in the bullpen. And ultimately, they could put John Gray in the bullpen as well. And Heaney summed it up really well when I spoke to him about this earlier. I asked him, hey, is this bothering you? You signed a 2-year, $25 million contract to be a starter, and you're a reliever. He became a reliever in September after Eovaldi returned from the IL. And he said, listen, this is the way the game works. During the season, the regular season, a team needs 8 to 10 starting pitchers. During the postseason, that number could reduce to 3, maybe 4. So what do? You stick some of those starters in the bullpen and you make it work that way. Not all teams have that depth. We saw Ryan Nelson last night for the Diamondbacks. Turns out they had some depth that they didn't really necessarily think was going to be as good as the relievers that they had in a closer game. But Ryan Nelson pitched really well over a length of time. So if you have that depth, it's the way to go, no question. Put some starters out there. It's just hard to find teams that have that kind of group.
And starters are expensive, right? I mean,
yes.
It's much cheaper to have a reliever. And, we see some teams like the Rays who do a great job in the regular season of bringing relievers out of nowhere into a prominent role, which is great. I look at Chris Young leading the Rangers right now, and I wonder if he's going to start a trend for people in that spot. I mean, Craig Breslow is a former pitcher in the bigs. Are we going to get like this wave again of players that kind of hop into front office and lead the charge? Obviously, you have to be able to communicate with many different types of people these days, more than ever, probably, to speak different languages of, players, coaches, analytics office, R&D, whatever you want to call it, right? I'm wondering if people are going to be looking for a Chris Young out there in his style.
The Red Sox just did. You mentioned it, Scott. They hired Breslow, and Breslow, of course, is a former Major League pitcher like Chris Young. So obviously it's a copycat game. We know that, and I would expect that teams will look for pitching expertise, as probably they always have. The greater question for me is, how do you bring back the starting pitcher? And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. The commissioner has addressed it. The obvious way is to reduce the size of a staff. That way you need more innings out of your starters because you don't have as many pitchers to go to. This needs to happen. And last night was, by today's standards, not an unusual game, but really by the breadth of history, when you look at the game over the decades, it's a very unusual game. And it's not a healthy thing for the sport to just keep running out relievers, and cycle through that way. And really both teams were kind of in that position. Obviously the Rangers got more length out of Heaney, but Tyler Kepner wrote a really good article today in The Athletic, essentially saying this is not what a World Series game should be about. I would like to see the game get back to the point where starting pitching is valued again. And yes, it is more expensive, but you know what? You'd rather buy a ticket to see a good starting pitching matchup than a bullpen game. So maybe you get the money back that way.
Ken, speaking of the bullpen, you were at the game last night. Do you have a full makeup crew before the game? Because I'm just wondering.
Jay.
There's a picture of A-Rod, and I thought that maybe before A-Rod gets his team, that you're in that chair before your one camera hit the first pitch. Could this have been you before?
No. I do my own makeup, and yes, I do apply it. And guess what? I'll give you a little secret, AJ. I apply it underneath the stands so nobody can see me. So nobody can put it on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. So then, if nobody can put it on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, AJ Pierzynski can't throw the picture up on foul territory and make fun of me. That's the whole motivation.
Wow, that's actually brilliant, Ken, because
Yeah.
you know how many times that I've been at ballparks and I have to like go into the bathroom and there's just a ton of people like, "What are you doing, dude?" And I'm like, "Hi, I'm going on TV. Sorry about it." They're like, "What are you putting on your face?"
I have one funny story about this, guys. This is a funny story. I'll leave with this. So the makeup case, it looks like, or not unlike, a can of tobacco, spitting tobacco, or chewing tobacco. And one year I have it in my back pocket, and I'm walking around batting practice or whatever, and Brian Cashman says to me, "Hey, you're chewing tobacco?" Because he's looking in my pocket and sees the case, which is roughly similar to the chewing tobacco case. I said, "This is the furthest thing from chewing tobacco you're going to find in baseball." And I pulled it out, and there was my makeup, and that was that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. You're right. It's like a little circular. I have it over there. Yeah, I'm with you. Little cup. So, well, I like
War
that.
paint.
You should have been
Ken,
like, "Yeah,
it's war
Cash, I'm
paint."
trying to war paint." Right. Call it war paint. Well, yeah, he doesn't have 5 people working on his makeup. So, Ken, a man of the people. Ken, have fun. Good luck to you and your suit if the Rangers win. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. Ken Rosenthal, you can catch him on Fox tonight for Game 5 and, of course, on Fair Territory. You can look at all the topics that were covered this week. Really good stuff on Merrill Kelly, for example, some insight there. And if you're looking at the offseason already, Juan Soto talk is in there too. We'll be right back to talk about Candy Digital and what they're bringing to digital cards in the game.
Last year at the last Florida, Georgia, I was at the tailgate with you, and I tried to go say what's up to you, and you did not say a word back to me. So I'm still kind of upset.
Yes. I'm so proud of myself right now.
You denied a
That kind of hurt me,
No.
honestly.
Hold on. What time was it? What time was it in the day?
So I
What
did play
time
that
was
into
it? No, what
effect.
time
It was
was it? I need to know
also
the time.
How does he know?
Because if it was after like 12 o'clock, then I'd already been there for 5 hours, so nothing counts.
I think it was at like 11, 10:30, 11.
Oh. Did you introduce yourself who you were?
Yeah.
There's no way. That's a lie.
I did
That is such
I promise you,
because
I did.
Spro, I know Spro was there.
I was with
Because-
Spro.
Because we had who'd we have
the
on? Oh,
worst,
we had
AJ.
Sterling Thompson on the other day, and I'm like, dude, Spro came to my tailgate last year. He was great.
Yeah, I was with Spro. I guess
well,
you just
I'll
didn't
tell you
remember
what,
that.
you come
I'm still
next
kinda- I'm
year.
still kind of upset with you about that.
Yes.
Well, you know what?
If he goes next year,
Portable.
what? Drinks on
Portable.
you.
If you come next year, drinks on me. I'll even let you use my portalet for free. Won't even charge you.
go.
How's that?
No, I did. I already did last year. I guess I'll be a resident in there, honestly.
Well,
Okay.
Nathan, if it makes you feel any better, Christopher didn't remember meeting Kratz, so this is just one big happy family of people that don't pay attention in life.
You guys are all bad
It's
teammates.
awesome. It's awesome.
All bad teammates. That's what it
How are we
is.
bad teammates?
You're a Florida State fan, AJ. Don't even come on here with your
Oh, here we
Florida
go.
fan.
Hey, so
There
is
we
Hickey.
go.
So is
Don't worry
Hickey.
about it.
Hey, Hickey's
Wait,
a Florida
what?
State fan too.
Wait, what? Hold on. Wait. Whoa. That makes
Yeah.
more sense than he was late. Wait, I need to hear this
Here we
story.
go.
Listen to
I want to
this.
hear this story.
Oh. All right. So, growing up, FSU is where I wanted to go. That was my dream school. My dad had me going to FSU baseball camp since I was like 7. We went to every FSU Florida football game every year since I was like 7 or 8.
And now, back to foul territory.
Kratz and Matt Novogratz joining us right now, the Candy Digital co-founder, head of partnerships and BizDev and SVP of Candy Digital. Matt, great to have you on, man. You got a good crew here with you today. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So I'm going to start with like the experience for someone who's new to the party. And I have someone sitting next to me who has been opening up packs for a long time. He collects, right? He's very involved in the hobby. And we sat this morning and went through his first Candy Digital experience. So why don't you tell him what you did, what you got, and ask Matt a question if you got one.
Yeah, Matt, I'm very curious about this whole thing because I'm not very I'm computer illiterate. I'm not good at all with the computer now. I'm starting to understand. People have come to me and we're explaining, hey, I got these digital cards. It's pretty cool. And now I'm like, things are starting to spin in my head. This is something else I can get into. And with the help of Scott, he kind of figured out what I needed to do. I picked out my first pack. I took the Yankees, and now I was talking to him. I'm like, listen, what should I do with this pack? Should I open it up? He's like, oh, well, I didn't open mine up. I'm like, why not? Well, maybe down the road it could be worth something and people don't know what I have back there. So I'm like in between, like what's my next step I should be doing?
Yeah, look, for me, I love the packs and I love ripping the packs. It's pretty cool, right? You can do a lot with our packs. Some you can play games with, like those team packs you opened. We had a Code Breakers game, which was a trivia-based game that we played throughout the season. It's now kind of postseason themed. So I give everyone to take a chance to check that out. Some packs you can earn points by collecting doing a certain chase that could enter you into a sweepstakes to possibly meet a player. Player meet and greets. We've thrown out first pitches of games. The Nationals, we did a partnership with them where you got to have the racing presidents come over to your house for a barbecue. So we're always looking different ways to kind of involve that fan engagement. I would rip the packs.
There you go.
All right.
Which is what you like to do.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to
get
rip
after it.
I
all
think I
right?
might
And then
do.
you can get another pack.
Yeah.
So let's take one step back now that we got like the real world example on how Candy came together with MLB and where you think the future of digital cards is going.
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess the tagline is we are a next generation kind of digital collectible and fan engagement company. The core of our business is we're really just trying to take that next step in what from cardboard was to what it can become. Like, how can you grow that fan experience by giving these different digital touch points? I just touched on a bit of those experiences that you can kind of unlock through this, but it's more than that too. Like it's the collecting itself. You just let that alone is super fun. I'm a cardboard collector. I buy packs and boxes of cards every week since I was 8 years old, and I haven't stopped. So I don't think this is. I don't think we're like hyper competitive with cards. I think we're super complementary. It's a different way to collect. It's ways for players to share stories, connect with their fans. It's almost like a digital fan club in some ways.
All right, so I'm going to show. I was a baseball card collector. I'm going to show my CJ Cron card here without the reflection, like just to show people like this is more than just a card. Like it's an experience for me, even though I can't yet download my team that I have. I want to download my team on here and display it. What are the next steps then when I have this and I display it? What would be the not the first step, because you already went through that with Todd. What's the next thing coming down the lane, for next season for Candy Digital?
Yeah, it's really going to be, we're going to evolve that engagement layer, add more gamification to this, give you more stuff to do. Like I said, we're not trying to really compete with cardboard. Cardboard's not going away, but what can we do that cardboard can't do? Can we create a collectible the day a player has his first hit or become that debut collectible? Can this collectible start you on a path to this new collection challenge that can enter you into a new game? So it's really going to be evolving that engagement layer is our real focus for the rest of this year and 2024.
All right, so first off, Todd Father just got a glimpse of the infinite object there that has the CJ Cron card, so he's jealous.
Yeah, well, I was like, dude, how do I get something
Well, that's
like that?
so after this, we'll rip open your Yanks pack, and
Yeah.
then if you get like a Volpe rookie, you can put it on there and we can display it here.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is that what people do? They try and display them like that?
You can. That's an
Matt?
option, right? And the other thing, like I'm thinking, Matt, of the present and the future is there's a highlight attached to some of these cards, right? And highlights, is that included or also kind of a separate operation? And then the one other thing I wanted to get your thoughts on was the future of the world of tickets, because for me, I collected some tickets when I was younger. I ended up kind of like losing most of them, but I think the future of tickets in terms of digital collectibles could be really promising too.
Yeah, for sure. Look, this medium allows us, in terms of highlights, it allows us to create that instant collectible. Last year, when Judge broke the home run record, we offered a collectible that next morning, included Michael K's call. It was incredible. And with our icons, we have those on the back that it has these highlights that kind of live on forever, which a 2D image just can't really capture. And you touched on tickets. Tickets is a big initiative of ours. And we see it as you mentioned that you don't get tickets anymore. It's kind of this missing link between a fan and that experience that you can remember. So we've been doing tickets to MLB games for the last 2 seasons. We've done it for every postseason game this year. We've done almost 60,000 tickets. Fans love them. It's a great way to introduce new users to Candy, and they're just really fun.
How do you think this ties into a player's brand, right? Because like we talk about that a lot on this show. We've got 10 player hosts, former players on the show, and then we have current players on almost every day, and they're always trying to think about how they can reach more fans and how they can I mean, it almost like sounds cliche now, like I want to build my brand, and they're not saying it to be selfish, they're saying it to like connect and also grow the game. And I feel like there's a lot of tie-ins here because unfortunately, Todd Father can't meet every single human being that likes baseball on the planet, or he'll be 80 and not have done anything else in his life.
Yeah, look, I mean, I used the term digital fan club before, but it really is like it's this one-on-one connection with a fan or a player and their biggest fans. And in fact, you'll know they're the biggest fans because they're on the blockchain, and you can find them. You know who has the most of your collectibles. And in terms of the scalability, like it is a thing we've done a few times this year, where with Pete Alonso and a couple other players, where we've done virtual meet and greets where they can have the biggest Mets collector, the 35 or 50 biggest Mets collectors, all have some one-on-one time with the polar bear. That's something that it's a little harder to do when you're in the clubhouse before a game and all these guys coming through. So yeah, like that is something we would love to do with more players. We would love players to feel real ownership in this product and really use this as a tool to connect with their fans.
All right, so Todd Father just ripped his pack open. Go ahead. You can. I mean, it's going to be tough to show, but you can at least read it, and then we can show it afterward. Once this is done, we'll post it.
So I opened my pack, and I'm looking here. I got Garrett Cole. I got Oswaldo Cabrera and Giancarlo Stanton.
Big G.
There
you go.
So you get 3 in a pack. Is that what it is?
For the team packs, you get 3. We have a few different varieties of packs. But yeah, the team pack is the standard one with 3.
What do you think's been, I guess, the most popular addition this year to what you guys have been doing? Is there a certain team pack? Is there, something that was like a huge hit, whether it was for a player or two? Like, we've had Pete Alonso on the show, who's actually had a very viral moment when he was on our show earlier this year for his poop homer. But I know that he's, done a lot with you guys. What's something that stood out that you think is like a big highlight from 2023?
Yeah, I mean, look, the player meet and greets that we've done have by far been our number one thing. It's been super exciting. It allows this real unique experiences, and we love to do them, once a week if we could. In terms of the product, the icons, the core, that's like really our kind of our core product. That is the one that still gets the most excitement, and our collectors anticipate the most. We just did one for the All-Star game. We're going to have a Hall of Fame collection coming out pretty soon. So yeah, those are the ones that people line up for that are pretty exciting.
And then for collectors, so right, like Todd Father's trying to find something that might, increase in value in the future. Where do you think he should go, or where would he look? Like, are rookie cards being valued more, just like they would in, a complimentary physical card?
Yeah, no doubt. The higher the rarity tier, the lower the mint count. So we have 1-on-1s in every set. The legendaries, those are like kind of the holy grail of the candy collectible. And in terms of sets, we do a minor league set called Uncut Diamonds annually, featuring the top 30 to 50 prospects each year. And those go like fire. I love Bowman Chrome. It's kind of like our closest thing we get to Bowman Chrome, but it's a good chance to get Jackson Holiday before he's in the bigs.
That's you, right? What were the cards that you were collecting last year in bunches from Cincinnati? The big
heck?
Fella, Ellie.
Oh, Ellie De La Cruz.
We forgot about him because he struck out too much for AJ down the stretch.
Yeah, when Ellie was on fire early in the year, he was single-handedly holding up the candy platform. That we could not put out enough Ellie highlights.
So for the 1-of-1, for example, that you're talking about, there's just and what was that one called? That line?
That's our legendary icon. So for each of the sets, like so, the core will be the largest mint count of a set, and it'll go all the way up to uncommon, to rare, to epic, to legendary, getting smaller like a pyramid.
Right. So there was one Ellie that was out there, right?
When the Ellie set, when his set of those were the highlights that came out. So those were a little bit more, but once his icon comes out, there will be a 1-of-1, which will be in big demand.
Yes.
And if you don't get what you want in the packs, when you're ripping your packs, we have a secondary market that is open 24/7. So there's always a lot of trading and speculating going on there as well.
That'll be you.
And you can buy, so there's a marketplace too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Right. You can buy, you can grab more packs, the whole deal. So Matt, really appreciate it. This is really cool. And it's perfect timing because I'm literally back at Todd's today. So I get to run through, his next world, his next distraction here for a while. Exactly. So appreciate it. And then enjoy the rest of the World Series here. And we're excited to see what else you guys bring to the table in the off season. And also thanks for sponsoring the Players' Choice Awards, which we're excited to all watch on the off day tomorrow night.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for the partnership. Really excited about it. And have a great rest of the World Series.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you. And here's more on Candy Digital, which we've been talking about throughout the week. And you'll see a lot more tomorrow also on the show, which will feature myself, Todd Father, and Adam Jones is going to join us for the Players' Choice Awards since he won one of those awards a little bit back. Get your free MLB team packs at go.candy.com/pack. Again, that's go.candy.com/pack. And Matt just mentioned everything that it brings to the table, including obviously the digital collectible itself, but there's also meet and greets, game use gear, signed memorabilia, the whole deal. You can buy in the marketplace, sell, trade. It's all there for you. Again, go.candy.com/pack. Back with our picks for tonight's game in a sec.
You're now calling games for a fan base that experienced 2011, experienced Nelson Cruz not supposed to be out there and, not catching that David Freese triple. What are Rangers fans most afraid of right now?
Oh, I think Rangers fans, I mean, you can't and I grew up in DFW, right? So when that Astros dislike and acting like I was the ALCS MVP, that's rooted from the fact that I grew up rooting for this team and suffering like a lot of the fans. And you can't say anything about one strike away or one out away or one game away, because this organization, I mean, there's a feeling amongst the fan base of being cursed, and that cuts deep. We intentionally, the phrase, seriously, one strike away is not something we say very often over the course of a game, because the Rangers in 2011 were one strike away twice. And for an organization to get that close and to come up short, it hurts. I mean, they haven't won a World Series, and then to see the Astros go and do it twice over the last few years, that cuts deep as well. So, the Rangers could, obviously the Diamondbacks have a win on the board. The Rangers could have been up 3-0 on the Diamondbacks, and this fan base would be wondering, all the different ways it could go wrong. So, this is not a fan base that I think is going to count, the chickens before they hatch. And it's an organization that hasn't won a World Series. And so I think the fear is that if something's going to go wrong, it will go wrong. Adolis Garcia, Max Scherzer walking off the mound. I'm sure that the fan base is like, oh gosh, John Gray is going to come in, and not because of anything we feel about John Gray, but because of the track record, it's just not going to go well. And John Gray was awesome yesterday. He came up big. But, that's just kind of the disposition of this fan base. They feel cursed, and they're trying to exercise some demons. And hopefully, one of the coolest things, Adolis Garcia broke David Freese's record of most RBIs in a single postseason. And so one of the narratives was, hey, this is a sign that we are in the process of exercising the demons of 2011. But there are demons. And until the Rangers get that final win, those demons are going to be very much at the forefront.
And now, back to foul territory.
All right, here we go. First off, thoughts, predictions from the poll results on what you think is going to happen that could lead to a D-backs win to stay alive in the series, because the winner is Zach Gallen shoving, and second place is Texas pitching crumbling. It's basically, for if you're just joining the party right now, people predicting what would happen or could happen to lead to a D-backs dub to keep this series going.
Yeah, I would say Zach Gallen has to shove, because they've been hitting on all cylinders and finding a way to win these games. They had a bullpen day yesterday. Zach Gallen's got to step up today.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to get to the bullpens later, in my mind. What do you guys think?
Agreed. Gallen, it's all about the length that Gallen goes. Maybe not shove. Maybe he doesn't need to be like 6 scoreless. But if he could be 5 or 6 with 3 or less runs, I think that's a positive. I think the Diamondbacks have enough to push 4 across tonight. And I think when they get to their back 3 guys, I think they've been pretty much untouchable.
Let's do locks. Ready for it? Your Bet MGM locks. First off, backtracking to Tuesday. Heater didn't hit, which I was bummed about, but it was not close. You needed a Rangers money, or a D-backs money line involved in that. That ain't happening. AJ nailed it with Heaney and Carroll and getting the over. It was actually a pretty no sweat bet kind of night for you, AJ. And then Kratz, same for you.
Except for it took Carroll to like the 8th inning to get a hit.
Oh, that's true.
It did take a bit.
Yeah. Kratz was good by the 3rd inning. So that was cool.
Yeah.
So Moneybags is there. And while we look at that, let's get our Wednesday Bet MGM locks. Todd Father back in the party here. So what do you got tonight?
Oh, we got a battle.
Yeah, we do.
I think the Diamondbacks come out hitting on all cylinders today.
Okay.
I'm not saying they're going to win by 6 or 7. I'm saying by 2.5. I'm going Diamondbacks -2 and a hook, and I am putting 300 to win 780. So that's a plus
260.
that plus 260 I have on there. Yes,
Wow.
thank
So
you.
you got D-backs by 3 or more.
3 or more.
So not a close game necessarily.
Yeah, I think they're going to come out, especially how they ended the game yesterday. I think they're going to come out hot.
Look at that.
I
face
know
from
of all these
Kratz.
pitching. I know you guys are going to make faces at me. I just got a gut feeling it's time. No Garcia, and they had a good game yesterday. Now it's a new one. We've seen some lopsided games too.
Kratz, your thoughts and your pick?
I'm going with Gallen, 4+ strikeouts, a walk, and Eovaldi, 4+ strikeouts. I think that's plus 115. I wrote it down. Plus 115. I don't hate it, Todd. I just have a tough time betting against the Rangers. They haven't lost on the road yet.
You're right.
And they haven't shown me anything to say that it's going to change.
AJ, Talon?
I'm going super simple. Corey Seager, 1 walk. That's it. Corey Seager, 1 walk. I believe it's plus 125. Is that right? I think that's right.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Plus 125. And I'm putting 1,000 down to win 1,250. That's it. He's going to walk at least once. So, boom.
Oh!
Could be the last bet of the year for a while. So, boom. Here we go.
I'll add to your lock. If he doesn't walk, the series is over. Okay? If he
Yes.
does not walk, the series is over.
But
I'm
I think
selling
here's the
hell out
thing.
of
I
that.
think Zach Gallen, though, what game was it where Zach Gallen what game did he pitch against the Phillies? And he walked Harper and he walked Schwarber like to start the game because he's like, these two dudes ain't beating me. It's gonna, if he gets Marcus Semien out, he's gonna go, yeah, Corey Seager, just go to first. I'll worry about you at first, and I'll deal with the guys behind you.
Game
He did
6.
the same thing. He did the same thing to Seager in game 1 of this, where Seager came out and then Carter hits the double to right center and Seager scores. He walks Seager later. And if you watch the at-bats, he doesn't really go after him that much.
And let's show the board while I run through mine quickly. Eovaldi, 3+ hits. I think he's going to have to give him length. I think Gallen's going to get 3+ Ks. I was scared of Arizona. They just don't swing and miss much. And then over 6.5, I bought that down. $1,500 first bet offer is still going on the Bet MGM app. If you use the code FOUL, sign up and deposit at least $10 into your new account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And if that happens, your bonus bet will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. You know who's starting off hour number 2 on FT Live on the YouTube channel?
I do.
The man,
The myth.
Lance Lynn, coming back. His wife's throwing shade at him. We got to get a response from Lance next.
Gotta let go so I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me, and I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
What's up? Hour 2, FT Live. Braun, Frazier, Kratz, Pierzynski, and Lance Lynn is going to join us soon. We'll talk about, obviously his playoff experience and also what he is seeing right now in this postseason. Let's go back to a few topics that we didn't get to hit in the first hour on the World Series. And let's start with ratings. So I think that it was talked about a lot heading into the series that, even though Arizona is not necessarily a small market, it's not a huge baseball market for a variety of reasons. So, the games are not getting significant ratings at the moment. And obviously, yesterday's game's not going to help when, even though it got a little closer at the end, I mean, it was over in the second, third inning, so people are going to turn it off. And you're probably going to say, you don't have an East Coast team in there.
I'm not.
You're East Coast biased.
No, I mean, listen, we all knew coming in that's probably what was going to happen, which is a shame because these guys are really good at what they do. yeah, it seems like it's been on a decline these past 6, 7, 8 years. It's weird how it just goes from up to down. I mean, I don't know what they have to do. Maybe take a page out of the NFL's book and have a media day. Have something fun for the guys to do. Ask them funny, quirky questions. I know MLB doesn't want them really to do much. I don't understand that, but they're planning to do one thing, and it's tough because football, it's only one game they got to play. But there's got to be something different that they could come up with, because I'm watching. I know if you're a baseball fan, you're watching. Ken Rosenthal says it all the time. If you're a baseball fan, you're watching this game because they're good. They're two great teams. And there's some names that you haven't heard of before that are stepping up big to the plate. So yeah, it's on a decline, and I don't know what the answer could be.
And just to clarify, so there's like a media day-ish for World Series, but I mean, the NFL does another week you're talking about between, which I mean, AJ can't stand long layoffs, so we can't do a whole week in between the end of the CS and the World Series. But I don't know, any ideas on how this can, improve in the future? I mean, also, you're never going to get numbers again that look like the, 70s, 80s, 90s, when, if you go far back enough, people have like 4 channels. What is that you're showing me?
Yeah, they had 3 channels. They had
3
ABC,
channels, 4
NBC,
channels.
and CBS, and that was it, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you had 2 options. You had 3 options. You had the World Series, or you had like 2 other shows that, I Love Lucy and, Mork and Mindy, It's
MASH
like, okay,
and whatever.
Yeah. What do I watch? I want to watch the World Series. And the other thing, listen, these teams are really good. The one thing I would say about them, though, and this is not a knock on the players, because of Corbin Carroll and a Seager, and even they don't have that star. Okay, like the Phillies, they have Harper, right? And people know Bryce Harper. He's from Vegas. He's been a star since he was 15 years old. And then you look at the Diamondbacks, you're like, okay, and Ken kind of hit on it. They don't have that bopper in the middle, right? So you're like, okay, Corbin Carroll, he's a really good player. He's going to be a really good player for a long time. But outside of Arizona, before going into this World Series or this postseason, nobody really knew who Corbin Carroll was if you're not a hardcore baseball fan. So I think stars carry it. And that's why when you look at the tweet we showed about the ratings, obviously the Cubs in 2016, because they hadn't been there in so long, that was going to be a massive rating. Then the Dodgers the next year hadn't been there in a while. So that was going to be a massive rating. But the Astros drew people to watch because whether you like them or hate them, people wanted to see them do well or do bad, depending on what side you were on, right? And then the Phillies you had last year with Bryce Harper. So it's not a television problem. It is obviously because the ratings are the ratings. But if you also look at it, there's another way to look at this too. Game 1, which they said was the lowest rated Game 1 of all time, was also the highest rated show on television on Friday night. So it's still rating higher than anything else that's on the TV, but it's not as high. But think about it. I mean, there was 3 channels back in the day. Now there's 3,000 channels you can watch, plus streaming, plus this. You could tune into the internet and watch things. So there's a million different reasons why it's changed. It's never going to go back to the glory days. But listen, as long as it's out drawing and every other thing on TV, what else do you want? 9.5 people, 10 million people watching something is still better than almost any other thing you can put on television.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, there's so much more competition now, Kratz. Like, that's what you're dealing with too. Even beyond just having a few channels back in the day, there's just a million different things people can do with their time. I mean, if you're bored nowadays, I can give you a checklist of 50 things that will make you unbored. And if you're bored, I don't know, when I was a kid at times, if you're like stuck at the doctor's office waiting room, it's like you got a magazine and that's about it. Now you've got a device that can give you the world.
So we need baseball to sell the game as a country's game, not the Brewers to Wisconsin, the Cubs and White Sox to Chicago. We need to be not such a regional sport, and these numbers will go back up. But what AJ said, like, percentage numbers are what's important, not necessarily the millions of viewers that saw it. Just what's the percentage of people watching other shows? And that was a great point by AJ. They were tops. World Series was the top watched event on television that night. So to me, that's a success, but I will always say we need to sell the game as more of a national game and less of a just super regional. Oh, it's very regional. Oh, I hope the Brewers and I hope the Brewers and Diamondbacks don't play in a series. Oh, we got that series. There's no ratings except for in Milwaukee and Arizona. I get it. I get that that's what's happening because of the structure that we've built. We got to sell it more nationally than just really local, locale.
I feel like there's a few ways to do that. So if we're using the NFL as a comp, they gripped fantasy football years ago. They've to an extent, even though we don't talk about it a ton publicly, now they do, but betting is so big in football and easy to do, right? So gripping things that bring people that wouldn't necessarily be interested in, one team's particular result, right? How many people will watch, football on a Sunday in week 15 when their team has been out of it for a month and change already? So that matters to me. Another thing that matters, playing off what you were saying before, is more player access. I will say, I don't know, the culture in the playoffs and especially in the World Series is tight. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you get guys for a little bit of time. Most guys are kind of nervous. Teams are really tight and who can talk. You get them for 30 seconds. I know everyone's busy as hell. I know, but there's got to be a way that people can buy into the storylines. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And yeah, it doesn't hurt if somebody says something that stands out and it grabs a headline. We haven't really had that. Like if we had like significant drama that would bring in other fans right now, and it has to happen somewhat organically.
Rangers Astros was the closest thing we got.
Yes.
Right. When they were about to, Adolis Garcia got hit and then the bench is cleared, but that just doesn't happen anymore. So you want drama, but you can't manufacture drama. It has to be organic from the teams. Right. But guys also don't talk a lot because MLB puts basically restrictions on who can talk and who they can talk to. And then the teams do it themselves. How about we open it up a little bit more? I don't know. I mean, I know they have like that media day where there's like some people there, but it's not, it should be more access. And I know players are going to say, oh, you hate, I'm a player, I hate more access. But there's got to be a way to spread the word better than what we're doing right now because people don't know anything about these two teams. They really, really don't.
And my one other thing, and then we'll bring in Lance in a sec, and we can ask him about this. I think we have to be careful, or it's not me, I'm not pushing this. The league has to be careful with how much we are promoting statistics all of the time. Because I talk to a lot of fans that are like, baseball is every day, and I just can't keep up with all the games and all the stats. And my answer is, I'm like, you don't have to. You don't have to keep up with every single little thing. I'm like, it just follows like the general storylines of what's going on in the game. I personally, as a fan, obviously we're doing this every day, but as a fan, I've had more fun with the game this year than ever before because I was involved in a world sometimes where it was just stat after stat after stat. And, oh, this hasn't happened since, a Tuesday in June of 1992. Like, to me, that stuff gets a little bit old, and I think it separates some people that are like, well, I don't know every player. I don't know every stat. You know what I'm saying? I think we have to speak sometimes like a more generic language so that people don't feel like they're on the outside looking in. And you see that on social all the time with trolls. They'll be like, oh, you haven't watched every game of my team. And it's like, cool. So what is this, a competition? Am I getting paid for that? If I'm like a casual Mets fan, Yankees fan, Cubs fan, Angels fan, whatever, like I have to watch every game or I can't talk about the team. That's ridiculous.
And there's a number for everything in baseball. I mean,
everything.
There's a stat. There's a number.
I like it too. Yeah, you can use it.
I
but
like
not
it for in
this
the back
much.
of your baseball card. Yeah, I like that stuff. It's I'm looking for guys that, is he clutch? Is he can he hit with runners at second and third? How is his average? I'm with runners in scoring position, those kind of things. And power. Oh, go ahead.
No, there's a great stat that I always look at. How many home runs did a starting pitcher give up, and if they led the league in it? I don't know. That's usually a big stat for me.
That is so fucked up. Fucked up. Lance Lynn joining us right now on FT Live. Go ahead. You can intro him since you went there.
Look at that. Look at that. He's ready. The guy who gave up the most home runs this year in Major League Baseball, Lance Lynn. There he is.
You got to be known for something, Some people are doing radio shows and not playing. Some people are still getting it done.
I know you're not a hey.
Solid.
I know you're not a
Hey,
big
don't talk about
media
Frazier
guy,
like
but...
that.
Easy now, easy.
Lance, did you happen to get word of your wife's what was it on Instagram, her little Instagram story the other day, showing off a really cool pitching tunnel, but adding a little bit of shade.
Yeah, that's the relationship we have. We walked into it, we sent the kids over to the grandparents. We're finishing up building a house right now. So I walked in there. We were, having a couple high noons, and I dropped, man, if I could lead the league in home runs given up this year, having this downstairs, it might be time to shut it down. And then we had a little talk, and she's like, I got to send something out. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So she tried to make it as PG as we could from, what was really said.
Can you give us more on what that is, though? Do you know anyone else that has that kind of setup in their home, and what inspired that? You basically have like a strip, right, that you can use indoors to be able to pitch. And I mean, obviously we're not giving away your address, but we were debating the other day. You're in the Midwest, so it's cold as hell. So you can do that in the wintertime.
Yeah, I think the grand scheme, the idea was having something in-house where you can, knock everything you want out, not have to worry about anything or, have to rely on somebody else. So, it's been a long time in the making, and we're in a good spot. But I also have 4 kids, and, whenever I'm done, it's going to turn into a nice little play zone for them too. So it's going to be multi-use for sure. So the idea was to, have somewhere where I can do what I want, not have to worry about anybody, and have something that the kids can have fun to play in too.
Hey, let me ask you this. Halloween was just yesterday. We're looking at the photo here of you and the family. Talk to us about the inspiration here. Tell us who everybody is, man. I think this was a really, really good, really good costumes here. Good selection by you.
Yeah, so Lively's in the Batgirl outfit. We got Judge. I forget what the little kid's name as the Adam family. That's the youngest. He's the boy. Rumor's over here. She's technically a cat, but she's just an all black. My wife, Diamond's cousin, grandma on the end there, grandpa, great grandma and great grandpa on both ends there, and then grandma and grandpa in the middle there. So my wife likes Halloween. That might be her favorite time of year. So we're starting the family Halloween costumes for everybody here moving out, and this was the first go at it, and that's what we went with.
Nailed it.
Solid.
Very impressive. So I'm curious, because I've complained about this, and we were just talking about the World Series, and ratings are not they're an all-time low, but we described a number of reasons why that could be the case. Did you watch? Because you're taking the kids around for Halloween. I just feel like the way that it overlaps with the holiday too takes away from some of the younger crowd. But curious your take on how we can get some more people watching the biggest games of the year in our sport.
I think, unfortunately, why ratings are down, I think, is you look at the 2 markets, and that's what about baseball. It depends on the markets that are in it. Obviously, if there's a bigger market in it, you're going to have more, more people watching in those markets. So it's a great story of the 2 teams that are in it. You look at the team, payroll wise, it's pretty low, and then a team that went out and bought everybody they possibly could because they want to win too. So 2 different ways to go about it, 2 different style of games all the way around. So for the pure baseball fan, you love it. You kind of you understand what each team did to get there and how they've accomplished it. But as a team or a person that's not big into baseball year round, they're not going to probably watch those 2 teams because they don't really know a whole lot about either team. But I watch it. You watch as much as you can. Obviously, the games are at night, so you got bedtime with kids and stuff like that, or Halloween and trick or treating. So we're able to go back and watch after trick or treating, and you saw what the Rangers did early on to kind of put that game out of contention pretty quick. But it's been fun to watch some of those guys. I know when some of the guys and all that, it's enjoyable as a baseball player and a baseball fan. But the fair weather fan is going to be this is a tough World Series probably because of the markets would be my guess.
Is it enjoyable for you? Can you watch it? When I was playing, I would watch it because I love watching baseball. I can sit down and watch a game anytime, even when I was playing. But I'd watch the World Series and I'd be like, man, that was cool, but I hope they don't win. And then the next team does something like, that was pretty awesome. I hope they don't win either.
Yeah, I think you're looking at it that's the thing that drives you when the off season hits, right? There's people still playing and you're not. So the moment that you watch it and you're like, man, it pisses you off that you're not there is the moment you're done. So for me, I know that I'm not done because I'm watching other people still play and I'm not. So it gives you that drive. It gives you that thing that you need to kick it into gear to make sure that you're ready to go come spring training, knowing that you weren't the last team on the field and you weren't hoisting the trophy. So, it's kind of bittersweet. You're like, man, that's awesome. Especially having the opportunity to play in a couple of World Series. You're like, man, that's awesome for, some friends and former teammates, but it's also pisses you off that you're not there.
Very true. Very true. We're talking about Corey Seager a little bit ago. I'd like to hear your answer. This, like, he's dominating. He's going out there. Why are they pitching this guy? What would be the game plan for you going into these next games facing him?
Yeah, when you obviously in every World Series, there's a guy that gets hot and carries the team. Like I remember when Big Papi did it against us Cardinals back in 13. You're like, man, don't pitch to him. It's one of those things where you don't want one guy to beat you, and he's obviously doing his thing right now. So I think that you're looking at a point going into the rest of the series where I'm sure the pitching coach, I know Strom very well. He's going to figure out a plan to make sure he's not the one hurting you. But then you got the Simeons of the world and stuff like that. There's a lot of depth there and a lot of guys that can hurt you. But obviously pick out one guy and make sure he's not the guy that hurts you. And that's going to be most likely their plan moving forward. And when a guy's like that, there is no holes to do anything. You just got to make sure you don't let anyone on in front of him so you can just put him on first and it doesn't load the bases.
Lance, when you're mentioned, you're not done because of you're watching the World Series and you're mad. The beard with all the gray, though, starting to worry about you a little bit there, old timer.
Yeah,
your contract
at least have
for the
all
next...
my hair, so that's good.
I got plenty of hair. Talking to the wrong guy on that one. Hey, what your contract is option for 24, correct? Club option only.
Yep.
Has the Dodgers given you any indication? I know it's 7 days right after the World Series ends, so have they given you any indication on what they're going to do?
No, there's not been an idea of how this is going to go down. They are obviously going through everything that they need to go through in the off season, the way they want to set up the team for next year. There's been a little communication that there's still some thoughts of, hopefully that I can be around, but they have to do their job. They're still finishing up, what they want it to look like and obviously how they want it to look like payroll wise and stuff like that. So it's a wait and see, how those things go. I enjoyed my time in LA. I learned a lot. You had a lot of fun, a lot of good teammates there. So, hopefully I get the opportunity to be back, and that's the hope right now. And if they don't pick up the option, then you pivot and, see what's available out there in the market. And that's all you can do, especially, in this game, everybody knows it's a business. So you just got to kind of roll with it and see how it goes.
So 2 questions off of that. One, do you know what the deadline is? Is there a day that they have to let you know if it gets picked up? We'll start there, and then I'll ask you the other one.
I think is it 5 to 7 days after the World Series where they can have those negotiations? Something.
I thought it was 5? Is it 5 or 7? It used to be 7,
yeah.
But I don't know if it's 5 now.
Yes. So, I'm sure that within the next week, I'll get a confirmed yes or no what that would look like. And then you go from there. So I know that the deadline for sure is 5 days. So 5 days after the World Series is over, they say yes or no. I'm positive that we'll have conversations before that within the next week or so. Obviously, we only have about maybe 2 weeks top. So, it's part of the game. You know that when you sign things and it's a business and, you hope to be back, but you also know that, there's other opportunities out there and you just got to make the best of whatever happens.
And then I feel like we've talked about this at one point for a second during the regular season, but maybe the answer is different in the off season, and maybe we haven't talked about it. I don't know. Do you have an age in mind for how long, if you could draw it up, you'd want to pitch until?
Obviously, you want to play for as long as you can. I think everybody that has played on this panel will tell you even when you're done, you still think you can get it done or you still miss it. So I'm not going to leave anything on the table. I think it's one of those things year by year. See how you feel, see the desire, obviously talk with your family, make sure your wife and kids are okay with you still doing it, which mine are. So as of right now, it's all hands on deck to make sure next year is a great year. And then you redo it afterwards. But I think we all in our minds have an age, and the age was 40. And then after that, it's like, okay, after how do you feel after each year? Physically feel good. Didn't have all the success I would have liked, but physically I feel in a good spot. Arm feels good, body feels good. So now working on some things that are going to make those things even feel better, and then figure out how to keep the ball in the ballpark, as AJ really wanted to point out from the get-go today.
Yeah, he's so sweet. Such a nice
Hey, it
guy.
wasn't me. It was Diamond. It wasn't me. It was Diamond. She brought it up.
Yeah, which is everybody wanted. If we'd have posted that, hey, we got a pitching ton, it'd be like, oh man, maybe that'll help him keep the ball in the ballpark. So we just beat everybody to the punch.
True.
Smart. I like that. All right, so let's do some reflecting on the season for you. First, from a team perspective, okay? You're on a White Sox team that was definitely going through it. I don't think they were supposed to be like the world's greatest ball club, but they certainly underperformed. Then you move over to LA. You join a team that's consistently dominant, especially in the regular season, make it to the playoffs. A disappointing end to the season for the ball club, but also going down to, at least you can say, I mean, not that it means much, the team that makes it to the World Series. So now that you've had a few weeks to be able to absorb everything, how do you evaluate like your season from, first off, a non-individual, from a team perspective?
I mean, you're looking at all in all, is a kind of a weird year. You're on a White Sox team that's supposed to compete in the Central. And then from the get-go, it didn't work out. There's no other way to say it. Things did not click and did not have the success that we all hoped, down to a man. So, and then you get traded to the Dodgers. You're on a team that wins 100 games. You're feeling good about yourself, and then you go into the playoffs and you don't do what you needed to do. You lost to the wild card team and the last team in. Obviously, they're hot and they've gotten themselves all the way to the World Series, and that's part of the game. So there's some things that you can take away from it, a lot of positives, but there's also negatives, and that's how you learn. You keep playing this game by taking the positives and running with them and making sure that they stay positives and making sure negatives don't creep up. So all in all, it was a weird year from the get-go. But I was able to do some things productively that I liked, and then there were some things that I need to shore up for myself, and then hopefully that will help whatever team I'm on next year with the ultimate goal is win a World Series. So I can't even explain this year. It was a weird year, man. Individually, team-wise, there's a lot of weird success and there was a lot of weird failure that you didn't enjoy. So that's baseball. When you think you got it all figured out, baseball slaps you in the face.
All right, so you throw your rookie year, you throw 10, 11 innings in the postseason. You think you'd be 36 years old and still only that one World Series after that happened in 2011? One World Series ring?
To be honest with you, if you go talk to everybody around the game, they'd all tell you, hey, that might be the only one. So, but as a rookie, you're like, heck, I remember my first 4 years, it was at least NLCS and 2 World Series. So it was NLCS or nothing. So I'd love to go back and tell myself, hey, you might not be, you're probably not going to be back here again after your first 4 years. But to have those first 4 years, I'm very grateful because of, the things that you go through now. So you learn to cherish those things a little bit more, because when you're young, you're just kind of going. You're playing the game, you're having fun. You're trying to you don't really think about those things like that, because you feel like you got a lot of years ahead of you. When you get older, you're like, damn, I should have really cherished those more, because I want to be back so I can have another run at it. And, haven't been able to do that again, but there's still some time.
So you got to join a team midseason in the Dodgers, like I mentioned, that are pretty much always good. They've dominated in the NL West for a while. Did you get a sense after that Diamondbacks series that there's just extra kind of like hurt and pain because they get there so often? Now, they won. I mean, they won in 2020. I mean, shortened season, some people are like, oh, that's different. I mean, it was still a playoff format and all of that. But regardless of that, I think the franchise is trying to avoid being labeled as like the 90s Braves, where they consistently win like that. And then, they're not putting together World Series titles. So did you observe anything there, especially like, you get into the clubhouse after the season just abruptly ends like that and talk to some of the guys?
Yeah, I think for me, playing against them, over the years, and also seeing how like the breakdown is. This year's team was kind of a little different vibe wise and stuff than I think the years past, with a little bit of a turnover on the roster with the Bellingers, the Turners, and guys leaving. I think all in all, the feeling was this was the first year that the Freddie Freemans and the Mookie Betts it's their team. So obviously there's disappointment when you lose 100 games, but I think it's like, hey, we won 100 games. We didn't do what we needed to do in the playoffs, but I don't think it's like a carryover of the years past. I think it's like, hey, this is our little different vibe. Doc talked about it throughout the year, was like, hey, this team's got a little different vibe. I think there's different things that are going on with the way that, clubhouse shakes up and stuff like that. And there's kind of a little new feel there. Hopefully that's something that, can take off. And then, you're looking at, multiple deep playoff runs. But I think when you get turnover in the game, it doesn't feel like, oh, here we go again, and this is who we are. I think that's the main thing. There's good vibes there, and a very, very close knit group. So it wasn't that feeling like, oh, this group doesn't get it done. It was like, this is the first time this group was together feeling.
All right, so we're gonna have a little fun here with you. I brought up Halloween before. Now I want you simply to rate our costumes on the show right now. I was the only one on the show that wore costumes so far. So this is me as Travis Kelce and my wife as Taylor Swift, and then you got Simply AJ, it's Michael Jackson, and then I did two. I was Ronald McDonald, so the whole family was in there with me.
That one's ridiculous.
You can't. That Ronald McDonald one. That's pretty good. Who in the world do you know that's going to let you behind the counter?
I know the owner at that McDonald's. I know the owner, man. It was funny.
Did you nail it? Did you get people what they wanted?
Oh yeah, no, I was giving out food and everything. And you got Kipnis' Triton there, Little Mermaid action.
Okay.
So who won?
That Ronald McDonald. The fact that you're able to get behind a machine, that's special. You were able to bring it all together.
They gave us food afterwards too. It was great.
I heard they closed that one.
Only you in Jersey can be able to pull that off.
No, that's it. I got my son Blake as Grimace. My daughter was ordering food, and my youngest Grant was the hamburger. My wife was the server there. We had the old school outfit there. It was great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You can't go wrong with that one, especially when you have a full McDonald's at your disposal to help you with it.
They call me Richie Rich there with the old McDonald's.
Dude, I mean, Ronald McDonald's a little scary sometimes too, though.
Oh, my son didn't like it in the beginning.
Was he scared?
A little bit.
Yeah,
he's good now.
Like Ronald McDonald, obviously he's been around for decades, but if you created that now, that wouldn't pass nowadays. They'd be like, that's good for a scary movie. It looks like Chucky's uncle or something.
Yeah.
So who wore it best? Which one did you like best?
Can I see those again?
Yeah.
When was Ronald McDonald? Was that you're looking at pop culture with Kelce and Swift right now is pretty. You can't go wrong with that one.
Adam Jones is Michael Jackson's pretty money.
That's pretty good too. I'm not mad at either one of those. I would say if you're looking at with all the Swifties in the world, everybody's going to take Kelce and Swift. That's probably the number one on the Halloween list this year.
There you go. What were you going to say, AJ, before he jumps?
I was going to say, why he's not going to pick Ronald McDonald, because Lance only eats salads. So I mean, he's never been
only
to
eats salads. Yeah, just to make sure that certain people are happy in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, right. Well, and all those like super, super athletic radio hosts that are just watching, your every move because, they know what they're talking about. They're all nutritionists, I think, those radio hosts.
It's amazing what kind of degrees people get just sitting behind things and looking on social media.
It is, right? Right, AJ?
Listen, I only get smarter every day that I'm on social media and behind the broadcast booth. So, I mean, listen, pretty soon. That
hasn't changed from your playing days, though. That has not changed from your playing days.
Well, Lance, we appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you later this offseason. Enjoy some fam time. And, let's get at some point, give us another video of that, like maybe more of a tour of that. What are you calling it? Because Todd Father's got, what you call this, the lab.
Yeah.
Are you
I don't know
calling it
yet.
something?
We gotta wait for it to be done, and then we can kind of go from there. I'm sure my wife's pretty witty at some stuff, so I'll see what she can throw around and go from there. So, maybe we'll throw some videos out there. Maybe we'll get High Noon to throw us a label on the back, because that's what we were ripping. I was ripping a High Noon while I was walking through there. So we'll see what we got.
There you go. Okay.
Man,
We'll
you've
work on the
changed. You went
sponsorship.
from you used to drink Budweiser, now you're drinking High Noons. Man, people change when they get all
Hey.
worried about their caloric intakes.
Yeah, Budweiser's a little heavy. My body's my temple, so I'm just trying to play for as long as I can.
That's right. That's the way to go. The off-season beverage of choice. Thanks, Lance. Good shit, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Cheers. That's good. Where did you come up with your name, by the way? For the lab?
We were thinking about it, and I just put L, lab last at bat, and that's what I kind of came up with.
Nice.
So.
Okay. I like that.
Something
I didn't know that. I didn't know where it came from. Another guest joining us in a sec, by the way, who happens to be a sports talk radio host, I was reminded. So we'll see if he's a nutritionist. Wasn't it a sports talk show in Chicago, though, AJ, that started that?
It was Steve Stone that said it, that he was out of shape and needed to mix in salad.
Yeah,
And
but it was on the radio first, I thought.
No. It was
He was
Steve
on the
Stone.
radio.
Oh, he was on the radio show. Yes.
Lance was on our show that day, too.
I know.
Right. No. Steve was on the radio talking about it, and he's like, hey, maybe he should mix in a salad. And it was like, really? Elaborate.
Remember then Lance, the next day, his wife posted a picture of him eating a salad? It was great.
So tremendous. Thank you, Diamond.
We need more Lance type situations in the World Series. Going back to that
we need
combo.
more people. We need more baseball players confident enough in their own skin to make fun of themselves when people say stuff. And also by doing that, guess what they do? They call out all the people that say the things. It's not just making fun and like everyone's like, oh, you're self-deprecating or whatever. You're making fun of yourself. But it's also calling the people out. Like by Lance posting a picture of the salad, he's calling out Steve Stone in the radio show saying, hey, basically fuck off. I'll do whatever I want.
It's a great call. I'm with you. I like it.
I mean, by Lance having that gray beard, I know what he's dressing up for Christmas.
Because
an elf, right?
Have a beard.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, he's still going though.
Of course he's still going. He's got plenty left in the tank. And
yeah,
I don't know if the Dodgers are going to do it, but I think he's a perfect fit year 2 to go back to LA and give him 200 innings or around 200 innings because they need starting pitching. And I think his option is $18 million for a guy that can give you almost a lot of starts. That's not a bad option to have picked up. A veteran guy who's pitched in the postseason, not a horrible option to pick up.
No, that's true. I mean, man, LA lost a lot of starting pitching throughout the season this year. May, Gonsolin, Arias. Yeah, that whole right. That's why that was the interesting part was you got the feeling from him that the vibe in the clubhouse was we're not really built to be this heavy favorite World Series champ this year. Not that that's necessarily what you need. The Diamondbacks weren't built that way either, and they certainly have a shot. But you know what I'm saying? It sounded like they weren't like, this was it. This team was lined up to win a World Series. It was like, yeah, we did not have much pitching.
It wasn't the mid 2010s Tigers, right? With 2013, those Tigers with all those pitchers and all those hitters. Never got it done.
So let's talk about the Cinderella story and see if it continues. John Gambadoro is joining us right now, longtime afternoon drive sports talk radio host on Arizona Sports 98.7 FM in Phoenix. You got the whole crew here today, John. How you doing? And how do you feel like the series is going out there in Arizona? Obviously, I know they're down 3-1 now. Are people having a good time, enjoying the ride at least? Because let's be real, how many people had them here?
Yeah, not many. First of all, I'm not a nutritionist, so I can't give you any advice. A radio host, but not a nutritionist, so I can't give Lance any advice on what the fuck he's going to eat or anything like that. And I hate social media, even though I use it quite a bit. No, listen, guys, I mean, they're a year ahead of schedule. They weren't supposed to be here at this time. A lot went right for them. The Gabby Moreno trade was great. Merrill Kelly's been terrific. The bullpen, which was a disaster, has really worked itself out. I mean, Ryan Thompson was a great find. Nobody wanted him after Tampa cut him. So I think Hazen reworking the bullpen is a big reason why. I'm not surprised they beat Milwaukee. I wasn't surprised they beat the Dodgers like you guys were talking about. The Dodgers didn't have Dustin May. They didn't have Gonsolin. They had to start Kershaw. They didn't have Urias. They didn't have Buehler. So I'm not surprised they beat the Dodgers. I didn't think they'd beat the Rangers, and here we are down 3-1.
Hey, John, Todd Frazier here, man. Where are you originally from, brother? You got that good, thick accent. You New York area, I would assume?
Yeah, and I'm a New Yorker, 30 years, Italian New Yorker. I wrote for Newsday from like 89 to 97. I moved out here in 97. I've been doing the radio show in Phoenix, Afternoon Drive, ever since. So 27 years of doing the Afternoon Drive show. We're the home of the D-backs, so we host a weekly segment with Torey Lovello. We had Evan Longoria on the show yesterday. So we're a big baseball show. Me and my partner are huge baseball fans. So we focus a lot on baseball. But yeah, I grew up in New York, where you played and at one time, and I moved out here in 97 in the desert.
Now, are those all New York icons back there behind your right shoulder there?
No, I was at the Negro League Museum a while back, and I ran into Buck O'Neill, and I never, ever asked for autographs. And I sat down, I did about an hour and a half just talking to Buck O'Neill, and I got done with that. And I said, Mr. O'Neill, I never do this, but I'm going to run into that shop right there. I'm going to buy a Monarchs jersey. I'm going to have you sign it for me because the guy just blew me away. So that's a Buck O'Neill Monarchs jersey. I got a Jeter piece. It's a 61 Yankees behind me. I've got in front of me, I got this nice little Joe DiMaggio signed piece. That's a cherish to me. I grew up a Yankee fan. My best moments as a baseball fan, obviously, when I was, about 10, 11 years old, Bucky Dent's home run against the Red Sox that got him in the playoffs. Chris Chambliss' home run against Kansas City when the fans ran on the field. So those are some of my best memories of being a kid as a Yankee fan.
If the Diamondbacks don't win this, you said, they're a year early. They have all these guys coming. They don't win this. You feel like ownership's going to allow Mike Hazen to do what he needs to do? Or are you just hoping that all these guys, the Corbin Carrolls, the Ketel Martes, the Christian Walkers, are all going to improve next year to get you to this spot again?
I mean, let's be honest. They need a number 4 starter, so they've got to get another starter. Madison Bumgarner didn't work out. I give them credit. They might not have made the playoffs if they tried to push Bumgarner another month to see if that would work. So they got rid of him after, 4 starts? Zach Davies didn't work out. So Bumgarner and Davies didn't work out. People saying, well, they don't have a 4th starter. They went for Montgomery at the trade deadline. They couldn't get him. They went for Lorenzen at the trade deadline. I think we're glad they didn't get him because, after that, 130 pitch no-hitter, he wasn't any good. So I think that they've got to go get another starter. I think they'll have the money to do it. And then they need a third baseman. Now, you could sit here and say maybe Jordan Lola could play third base. He's that top prospect. But, Longoria is going to retire very likely, and Rivera's not the answer. They're set at catcher. I still think they're set at first base. Walker's still a good player. They're set at second. They're set at short. They're set in left, center, and right. The problem is third base and starting pitching. So they've got to go out. They've got to add a starting pitcher, another quality starting pitcher, and they've got to go get a third baseman with a little bit of thump. And I think that they'll have the money to do it. Look, let's be honest. I mean, they got 3, 5, 6 home games here. They're charging $750, $850, $1,000 a ticket. They're making a lot of money during this postseason. I think Ken Kendrick will spend that money to upgrade the baseball team.
You hope, right? You're hoping.
We hope. Yeah, we hope.
You're hoping. Because there's been some owners that don't necessarily do that. But John, my question is we're still in this year. We're already jumping ahead to next year like the series is over. How do the D-backs win tonight, win Game 6, win Game 7 like they did in 2001? How do they come back from the deck and figure out a way to win this?
You got to get to Kelly. Gallen. Listen, Gallen's pitched about 240 innings this year. I mean, he's way above what his previous high was. 40, 50, 60 innings more than what his previous high is. So I think he's wearing down. He pitches better at home. He hasn't been in the playoffs, he hasn't been the guy that was a Cy Young candidate for most of the year. He's worn down a little bit, but he's still good, and he pitches better in this ballpark. Merrill Kelly, guys, I mean, I don't know. Has there been a better starter in the playoffs than Merrill Kelly? I don't think Texas wants to get to him in Game 6. He's fantastic. So I think if you get to Merrill, if you win today with Gallen, and you've got Sewald, you've got Thompson, you got Ginkel, you're going to have to use those guys. They haven't pitched since Game 1. You get to Kelly in Game 6, you feel really good about your chances in Game 6, just like in Philly when Merrill Kelly won. and then you take your chances in a Game 7. Game 7 in Philly, they shut down Harper, they shut down Turner, they shut down Castellanos, they shut down Schwarber. For the life of me, nobody here knows why they're pitching to Corey Seager. I mean, there's a runner on third. You got an open base on first and second. You're down 2-0, 3-0, and you're pitching to Corey Seager. I mean, he's single-handedly killing the Diamondbacks. So not that it might have made a difference, but it is shocking because their approach in Philly with how they went after and pitched away from Schwarber, Turner, and Harper is much different than what they're doing with Corey Seager right now.
Hey, question for you. So growing up over here in the Northeast, you got Mike and Mad Dog Russo. You got all these radio guys screaming and yelling. My question to you is out in Arizona, how have the fans been calling in? How's the questions been this past month? Anything different from the usual norm?
No, I think the fans are pretty jacked, man. They've sold out every one of these games. They just, it's a different market because, like my kids have grown up here, they're Diamondback fans. But a lot of Arizona, a lot of us are from somewhere else. We're from New York, we're from Philly, we're from different areas. So we still have ties to our old teams. I think we're going to get there because I think this generation of kids that are growing up, going to the ballpark, watching the games, and this is a hotbed, Arizona. I mean, my kid's a 15U club baseball player. This is a hotbed for kids playing baseball. So there's a lot of love for the sport of baseball here. The Suns, they may win the championship this year. They were in it a few years ago. They lost to Milwaukee. They were the first. So everybody loves the Phoenix Suns. But I think that this Diamondback team, and I think it's the way they play the game, right? I mean, 3 sacrifice bunts in one game. I talked to Longoria yesterday. He said he laid that sacrifice bunt down by himself, stealing bases. It's a little bit of a throwback team with the way they're able to play small ball, move runners over, get sack flies, speed, taking first to third. So I think it's a team that a lot of people like, even in the country. I don't think you can not like this Diamondback baseball team. They play the game the right way.
No, it's a fun flavor to watch, fun brand of baseball that they're doing. And I think there'll be more teams that play that way and look for players like that and look to build their team that way. So we have Paul Sewald. Go ahead.
No, I think you're right. I think that it might be a blueprint for some of these teams that can't spend $250 million on a payroll to say, look at what the Diamondbacks have done. Tampa was a great example of how to build a team the right way. But I think what the Diamondbacks have done here, and especially locking Corbin Carroll up a long time, I think you're right. I think it could be a blueprint for some of these teams to say, look at the way they play the game. If we get players like that and we do it the right way, we might be able to win, even though we don't have the Diamondbacks have about $120 million payroll. They can't compete with the Texas, Philly, and the Astros and some of these teams that they're in the playoffs with, the Dodgers, but they built this team the right way.
How are they and how are they talked about from an attendance perspective? Obviously now in the World Series, you're going to sell out. You better sell out in any city. And the crowd was great yesterday, and it was talked about a lot on the broadcast too. They stuck around. I mean, it's 10-0 in the third inning, but they stuck around for a while and got a little bit of a show later on in the game. But Paul Sewald, who's probably the best interview on that team, is on with us every few weeks. And I remember, I think it was the end of the season when they were in a playoff push. He was like, we got to get a little more fan support. Like, let's go, guys. So how do you think it's perceived out there? And also, does any of it have to do with the ballpark? I mean, I've been out there. It's a nice ballpark. It's been around for a minute at this point, right?
They built it too big. I mean, Jerry Colangelo, when he built the team, he told me at the last minute he added 10,000 more seats. They were going to be about a 38 to 42,000 seat stadium. They bumped it up. I mean, they were 48,000. It's too big of a ballpark. They've got to do something. It's 25, 26 years old now. So they need to do something. I would love to see them just, tear down a lot of it, make it a much smaller ballpark, much more confined. I think a good sign was the Dodger series. Usually we've got about 35, 40% of the fans are Dodger fans that come here. I mean, if you guys were at Game 3 here in Arizona, less than 5% of the fans were Dodger fans. So this team is special. The 2001 team that won the World Series, they had some success for a couple of years after that, and then they really struggled. It's tough here because you've got all 4 major pro teams. You got Arizona State. People will support you if you win, but they're not going to support you if you don't win. You're going to lose 110 baseball games. You're going to have 18,000 on a Tuesday night out at the ballpark. That's just the way it is. I hope this team is, and I think that they're a special team, that you're going to see a big increase in season ticket sales for the for the next few years. And I think that the game changing too, right? I mean, I'm old school. I didn't necessarily want all the changes, but 2.5-hour baseball game is in line with what a basketball game is or what a football game is. So I think people are liking the fact that they can come to a baseball game and feel like, okay, I'm going to be out of there in 2.5 hours. A younger generation, I mean, I'm fine sitting through a 3.5-hour game, but younger people don't. I think those changes will help people want to be here as well.
Is this the night that it ends, or do they keep it going after tonight?
You know, I wouldn't count them out. If Kelly was pitching tonight, guys, I would tell you that they're going to win. I mean, I have all the faith in the world in Merrill Kelly. He's a horse on the mound. He's got an unbelievable repertoire. He's thrown 5-6 pitches. He gets ahead of you. Forget it. I mean, you're not going to get a hit off of him. I think that Gallen will deliver tonight. I think that Torrey knows he's going to have to use Thompson, Ginkel, and Sewald. And if he has to use them earlier, he's got to use them earlier. I kind of thought maybe yesterday, you know, once things got a little rocky, that maybe he should have used those guys early instead of saving them for late. I mean, you could have had Thompson come in a third inning and pitch 2 innings. I mean, that was a must-win game, I think, in many ways. I'll say they'll win tonight and get it to Game 6 in Texas.
Well, and if they do, then you got your guy, Kelly, back on the mound. And you know what's crazy to me, though, and AJ and me have talked about this a lot, Zach Gallen's a Cy Young contender the last few seasons, right? He is an outstanding pitcher in the National League contender the last few seasons. We're doing the Players' Choice Award show on Foul Territory tomorrow. Like, he's one of the candidates in the National League. What's crazy to me is Merrill Kelly was looked at when he came back from Korea, and even really this season. Now, I guess he picked it up during the season here, where last year you're probably like, oh, he's like a 5, maybe a 4. This year, you're like, he's a 4, maybe a 3. In the playoffs, he's pitching like a 1. It's just crazy that you said, well, if it was Kelly, I would feel better versus Gallen. When you think about that, like, it's crazy, right, AJ? Like, Zach Gallen's supposed to be one of the best pitchers in the league. It just shows how far. I think it says more about Kelly than it says about Gallen, though. I mean, he's throwing harder. He's got command of all of his pitches. It's just crazy to me because he came in the league and they were like, oh, he'll be a nice innings eater.
No, he's been great. And Zach Gallen, think about Zach Gallen. He's got over a 5 ERA in this postseason. And like John said, he's already thrown over 240 innings, I think, this year, which is a lot for anybody, especially in today's game. So I don't know that it's Zach Gallen, but his stuff isn't as sharp. He's throwing more balls than he's ever thrown, meaning he's walking and falling behind more guys. Maybe he's trying to be too fine. And I think the thing, and John can tell us because he sees him more than anybody, but he's always kind of been his stuff has always been above average, but his control has been what has separated him because he can throw 4 or 5 pitches and he can put them everywhere in the strike zone on the edges. If you see in the postseason, he's either missing the edges as balls or he's missing into the middle of the plate and they're getting whacked. So for him, he has to be really fine around, and that's what he's been so good at. Maybe it's adrenaline, maybe it's fatigue. We don't know, John. Maybe you can tell us. But Zach Gallen hasn't been the same Zach Gallen we've watched for basically 2 years in a row now in the regular season.
I got on my notes for my show today. He's at 237 innings. Previous high was 184. So 53 innings more than he's ever thrown before. I mean, you guys would know more than I would if that's a factor for arm fatigue. The other thing is, like, against the Phillies, his fastball is going to get hit by those guys. When Brandon Pfaadt came in and was striking everybody out, he's got a little extra giddy up on that fastball. I mean, he could raise it up there. And so I think he's more difficult to hit. He's got a better fastball. There's more movement on it. Gallen's been great for them because he can move the ball around, up, down, hit corners, get ahead. He hasn't gotten ahead in some of these. He's fallen behind. He's just made some bad pitches. Look, they made a great trade to get him from the Marlins. He's been the number 1 pitcher for them. He's a Scott Boras guy. I know they wanted to lock him up long term, but Boras wants those guys to get to free agency, so they haven't been able to do with Zach Gallen what they did with Corbin Carroll. And look, I love Merrill Kelly. I think, he's just got that mentality when he takes the mound that he's not going to get beat, but he is 35 years old. Like I said, they tried for Montgomery, weren't able to get him. Tried for Lorenzen, weren't going to get him. Prices were too high. At that time, they were really struggling, so they didn't get that extra starter. It would have been nice if they had that extra starter, a 4th starter. They didn't get it. So I think they got some question marks going forward. Are you going to be able to keep Zach Gallen when he hits free agency? Is that his goal to get to free agency? Because if he does, you're going to lose him. They're not going to be able to pay him. Merrill's 35. How many more years can he dominate at 35? Fott's good. Some of the younger pitchers are good. But they're going to have to address this starting pitching going forward, guys, if they want to sustain this success and they want this to ride out for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and I hope they do, because I mean they've got something special going here clearly, and it's a type of baseball that I think is kind of like the future and present now at this point, and it plays well clearly in the postseason. So, John, it was great talking to you. Appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight. Good luck to the squad.
You got it, guys. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. And we'll post John's info. Like he said, he's like, I hate social, but I'm all over it. So we'll post his info if you want to give him a follow and check out some of those clips that we just talked about here. So let's move on to what I think is probably like the most highly debated award decision this year in my mind. Okay. So we have the Players' Choice Award show that is premiering tomorrow, Thursday, the off day, or it could be just the end of the season. And it is sponsored by Candy Digital, and it is exclusively here on Foul Territory on our YouTube channel. You'll be able to see the show. These are your Player of the Year finalists. So, and I want to get everyone's take here if you're active in the YouTube chat. Player of the Year overall, which I do think our sport needs to highlight this award more. Okay. Like the AL and the NL, they play against each other. Everything's mixed up. You can have an award for the AL and an award for the NL, but can we have an overall like best player? That's what this award does. And it's Acuna, Ohtani, and Betts as your Player of the Year finalists. So let's kick this around for a second. The winner is going to be announced in about 24 hours. Who should and who will win this award? And keep in mind, these are players voting for players. So if that helps to kind of steer towards where you think players are going to value these players, AJ, what's your prediction and what would you do? What would you vote? Especially being that you're not in the league anymore, so you can't vote for yourself, but I'm giving you a vote.
Shohei's going to win. I think Acuna should win, much like Aaron Judge won MVP last year over him, because it took a historic year. The first 40-70 guy of all time. Didn't miss any time, played the whole year, played a Gold Glove caliber right field, has a cannon for an arm. Again, 40 homers, 70 stolen bases. Think about that. Never happened, never even been close to happening before. And it was a historic year. That's what it takes to beat Shohei. Shohei had an incredible year. Again, he had a historic year with pitching and hitting. But for me, the one way you can trump Shohei is, again, also for me, and this is me, the Braves led their division, won over 100 games. Acuna hit leadoff the whole year, was out there. Again, 40-70, never happened before. Shohei could win this every year. It takes a historic accomplishment. For me, Acuna did it this year.
What about Mookie?
Pratt, same question.
Mookie played so many positions on a team. They led their division. He's arguably the best player on that team. Is Freeman a better hitter? It's obviously debatable, but the value of being able to we're in a league now that's void of superstars in general. Like teams want to build around these utility guys. He's the superstar utility guy. He is played so much. To me, his value that he puts out there, being able to play so many positions, almost catches Acuna. But ultimately, whoever we're talking about for second place, it is a distant second place to Shohei in this race, in this voting. I would have a hard time seeing anybody besides maybe Orlando Arcia voting for Acuna.
Yeah, I think it comes down to two players, and I think as we talk about this again, it's the player's choice. This is between players that you play against them all year long, you battle against them, you're in the trenches. And I think, for me, I think what the biggest thing for me when Acuna played in LA and had that dominant series, and then his numbers speak for itself. I would say Acuna would be the winner at the end of the day, but I think Shohei is right behind. So it go either way, but what Acuna did against one of the top teams and top players, and the numbers he put up historically, I think that bodes him well to be the outstanding player.
You would have voted for Acuna over Shohei?
Yes.
AJ?
I would have voted for Acuna. I already said that, but Shohei will win.
I would have voted for Shohei. You're
I'm
especially
Acuna.
you're
I'm
a sheep.
Acuna on this one too. I need history. For me, yeah, Ohtani can only lose awards like this. Obviously, he's got to put together a strong season. Also, he didn't finish the season, right? I mean, he had the injury. I know it was towards the end of the year, but it wasn't a complete full season. I think, and I'll look it up, but he ended up playing DH-wise, what was he, maybe 100?
Thought he was at 130 some games total.
So, yeah, he was, let's see, 135 games played.
Like, I think you sit there.
Played the whole year. 161, I think he ended up doing. I think he missed one game. So, I mean, it was. Isn't this a similar topic from last year with Judge? I mean,
I don't think so.
Judge was that much above and beyond what you saw this year from Acuna.
But I mean,
and obviously what Ohtani did. I know Ohtani was better this year, but he still missed some time. Yeah, Acuna. Let's see, 8 WAR.
Ohtani missed time.
Yeah, Ohtani missed time. Yeah, I mean, Acuna played in 159 out of 162. I mean, he led the league in a lot. OPS above 1,000. I don't know. I mean, I think it takes a year like that.
It takes a historic year. Like Judge 62 homers and Acuna 40-70. That's the only chance you have of ever, as long as Shohei pitches the way he pitches and hits the way he hits, of anybody ever winning an award from him, because of the value he brings as a pitcher and how good of a hitter he is. It's going to be hard for anyone to ever top that as long as Ohtani's healthy. And this year he missed a month at the end. I know it was just a month, but still, Acuna, the way his team played and the historic 40-70, again, something that's never even been close to being done, it trumps it for 1 year. Now, Ohtani could win this every year. He could have won it last year. You can make the argument against Judge, but listen, it takes special years to beat Ohtani.
Jonathan Mayo, our friends in the chat right now too, saying, does anyone contextualize the historic nature of Acuna's year, not taking anything from what he did, but it's easier to steal bases now with the new rules than in past eras. Maybe he gets 40-50 and belongs in the combo, but, he said, I've heard much said about how the rule changes impacted him in the game. Yeah, and for the better, in his opinion.
You only play the game you're told to play.
Right,
you
got to play
the teams
you're
told to play, and you play to the rules. I mean, yeah, great. 4.5 inches, as we know for Todd, huge difference. But I mean, it didn't help him hit 40 homers.
And even if you dumb that down, like in a different year, if it's 50 bags, it's still for a 40+ 50 season is huge. And it's not like everybody stole 70 bags this year, right? Like second was Estuary Reeves, who's like a kind of, I mean, that's really his tool. That's his one tool, is just if he gets on base, he can run. But it's not like we had a bunch of dudes stealing 60, 70 bags, right? After that, it was a drop off to who's
everything was up. But like
it was up overall. Like you'd have guys that weren't stealing much, right? Like the guys who used to have like 1, 2, 3, maybe they had like 7 or 8, but it's not like we had 10, 15 players in the league that stole 50+ bags.
But if you compare it, okay, like apples to apples, Acuna hit 337. Shohei, 304. Acuna, 41 homers. Shohei, 44 homers. Acuna, Shohei, 1,066 OPS. Acuna, 1,012. Acuna is not pitching. Both their defenses were rated at the same, minus 1.1. Shohei never even played in the field.
Right, he doesn't rate great on D. Okay.
And Acuna didn't rate well on defense either.
That's what I'm saying. Acuna does. Obviously, Ohtani just gets docked on the numbers because he's just a DH. But I also think, I mean, when you watch Acuna out there in the outfield, do you think he is a below average defender?
I don't
think so. I think the metrics are off on that. But I don't think he's elite, but I think he's good. I think he's at least.
But he can do this too.
Out there.
He can do this.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. He probably gets dinged maybe on his routes.
Or maybe his accuracy of his throws. I don't know. I don't watch him enough.
Listen, some guys, when they vote for these things, players, I've seen guys look stats up. I've seen guys go by the eye test just playing. I was an eye test guy, man. You kind of know what the guy does. You hear about the 40 and 70 or whatever it is, but I'm an eye test guy. I mean, most of the guys, from playing against this guy and watching him play, this is definitely the best guy. And there's some guys out there that'll look up stuff left and right. So it just depends on what kind of person you are when you're looking up stuff and who you want and who you think should be the winner. So, I think most of them are like, you know what, this guy dominated all year, I'm going to pick him. I don't think many of them are looking up that many stats
Who do you want
as players.
If Ohtani doesn't have the injury at the end of the year, who do you want to start your next 6 seasons with? Shohei or Acuna?
Oh, that's like the Jordan LeBron debate, dude. I would take Ohtani all day since he can do both.
You can't say that though. If he didn't have an injury, if he didn't do this, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, it'd be Christmas every day. Like, it doesn't matter. You can't say if he didn't get hurt, would you take him? Well, if Acuna didn't blow his knee out, maybe you take him.
Oh, he's just asking it separately, not related to the reward.
Separately.
Yeah, for me, Ohtani, easy.
Well, of course, Ohtani. You always will take Ohtani.
But I don't think Acuna is going to put this season together every year for the next 6 years either. So I like my chances of Ohtani getting something done as a hitter and a pitcher every year. I just think I'm going to have more successful seasons on one front or the other. And also, we got to see how he comes back from another Tommy John surgery or whatever we call that, some mysterious elbow, surgery. But yeah, I take Acuna for the next I take Ohtani for the next 6 years on my team. Who do I want? Ohtani. But this year, Acuna.
Yeah.
He was better this year.
For me, for what I'm looking for, yeah.
I agree.
I think it's close, and I'm the guy. I'm in that boat where I'm like Ohtani most of the time, But I do think we had back-to-back years where guys did stuff that you're not going to see frequently. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Corbin Carroll goes 40-70 in the next 5 years, and we're like, everyone's doing it.
Scott, would you take Shohei, Ronald Acuna Jr., or Luis Ariz for the next 6 years?
Obviously, Luis Ariz, because I want someone that gives me a shot to hit 400. I want to bring that back. It's funny. He makes me seem like I'm like the old man, and I hosted the analytics show on the MLB channel back in the day. So I'm having an identity crisis. But on that note,
are we role playing now?
Not without you there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not here. Watch our Players' Choice Awards show special November 2nd, which is tomorrow, 7:00 Eastern time, premiering on the FT YouTube channel, which is right here, so you don't have to move. You can just stay on here. And also, Candy is your official destination for MLB digital collectibles. That show is sponsored by Candy, and they'll have some cool artwork involved with some of their digital cards that you can see in that show. You can collect, buy, sell, and earn rewards like meet and greets with MLB stars, game use gear, signed memorabilia, all involved there. And as a special offer for the FT fam, a free team pack for you. Okay. You got to go to go.candy.com/pack for a free team pack. Go.candy.com/pack. Or if you're watching right now, the QR code is on your screen. Smash that. And you'll also see the link in the show notes on YouTube and on Pod. All right. So we're going to finish strong here. I've got one that I've actually been saving up for a while that I feel like is good timing. I mean, technically I could wait one more day, but I'm going to show it to you guys so that we can at least get a look at how funny it is to try and predict in our sport. So let's slap. So this has been floating around on Mets Reddit. Okay, when DeGrom signed. And I mean, I wasn't going after him, but you're used to a player signing in the offseason, and they're not going to sit there and go, yeah, I got offered the most money. So he's like hearing the vision of what the Rangers wanting to do, bring a World Series here is the goal. It's DeGrom when he was asked why he signed with the Rangers. I mean, because it happens. Like, I think McCutchen, when he was interviewed last time he signed like a 2-year deal, was like, they gave me the most money. But most of the time they're going to be like, they sold me on the vision, whatever, right? So they just showed some responses from people being like, bringing a World Series to a team that is probably going to win 72 games, laughing my fucking ass off. Or if a World Series was the goal, you should have stayed with the Mets. I'd love a candid answer just once. Or how about Rangers won't sniff the World Series for the rest of your career, LOL. And then that last one, I don't bear him any ill will, but off with the World Series nonsense. DeGrom went from a team that won 101 games to a team that won 68 games. You can't do that and then pretend winning the World Series is a priority.
Love that.
That's just funny. Yeah. I mean, whatever. I don't think most people thought that the Rangers were going to be bad for the next 3 to 4 years. That would have been a problem. They're spending a ton of money. They're on the upswing. We saw that before the season started. I also don't think people said, oh, well, of course, Jacob deGrom left the Mets so that he could play for a team that's going to be in the World Series. So just funny how things change.
If they win, do you think he's going to post all that online afterwards?
You tell me. You played with him.
Hell no.
Hell no. He's not going to say shit, right?
That's why you don't do that shit.
What? Talk shit?
Paul Sewald, man. He's posting all the crap up there.
Todd didn't like that. All right, you got something for us?
I thought it was great, by the way. All Seawald stuff.
Yeah, that's why he gave up a homer to lose the game the other day.
Yeah, but
No, it's not.
One had nothing to do with the other.
You don't speak before it's
That's
over.
dumb.
No,
That's
that has
dumb.
nothing to do with it.
One has nothing to do with the other.
Okie dokie.
People,
karma. You guys don't believe in karma. Go ahead.
wait, but
Karma's
okay,
all
this
doing
plays
all
to
the
what you
bad
thought.
things.
Remember, you were like, I think the Phillies are gonna. Oh, well, that was the previous series. So then the next series, the NLCS, they're down 2-0. They go to Arizona. Sewald comes on this show, and there's a few people that were in the chat that were like, oh, he shouldn't be on, and he shouldn't be talking about strategy and whatever. And then how did that go? He saved all 4 games in the NLCS. They came back and won.
That was great.
Do you really? I just don't think it. I don't think it makes a difference either way.
I'll take back what I said. It doesn't mean that's not why they lost.
It's not affecting performance.
Karma comes back to haunt you sometimes.
Okay. Who's got the costume thing for us to finish? Who is that? Who's in charge of this? I don't know what it is. I just was told there's a costume. Oh, I did see this. This is actually the winner of Costume of the Year. If anyone picked this up, it is an out-of-state billionaire costume. Included. Have you guys seen this?
No.
So if you want to dress up as John Fisher, owner of the Oakland A's, and get high fives from everybody, just maybe hang out in Oakland for a few hours and see how many friends you pick up. No one will recognize you because you don't show yourself or talk or do anything. You just own a team to try and make money off them, because that's really what is fun about owning a team and being a billionaire. But included is $380 million in public money, an army of lobbyists, a lawsuit against teachers. Yeah, look that up. That's fucked. Not included, stadium renderings, MLB approval, sound economics, and private financing. That is A+ job by whoever that is. I'm not going to try to pronounce that one, but A+ job on the Photoshop game. Or maybe it's real. Maybe that's a real costume.
There's been a lot of these, not that one, but examples of some funnier things too as well. I guess it's like this ongoing thing online. You can make it up, I guess. So
yeah, fill in the blanks
good.
there. That was nice. That was impressive. Or my Cell shirt, or AJ has one too. Cell shirt works too. You have
I
it?
want to know what this whole lawsuit against teachers. Now I'm going to go down a rabbit hole.
Google it. It's good. There's some, not a ton of coverage, but there's some articles there. There you go. The teachers are like, hey, can we get money for education and not paying a billionaire who could pay for the ballpark himself? So just so you know. There you go. That's AJ's shirt, and what's on Kratz's head?
Well, Father's Day Brew Crew hat.
Nice.
Nice.
Is that blue on blue?
Simple.
Blue on baby blue.
I like it.
Good place.
Beautiful. Well, that's it for us. But if you love us, then join us after World Series Game 5 and 6 and 7 if it happens. And again, tomorrow we're on for our daytime show as usual, but then at night, if you're bored or missing baseball, the Players' Choice Award show, and we'll find out who the winner is. Is it Ohtani, Acuna, or does Mookie Betts steal the show from everyone? So enjoy World Series Game 5, people. We'll see you for the next one.